everybody. Welcome to Frame Trap, your gaming in-depth discussion podcast. I'm the host, Brad Ellis. I'm joined by my co-host, as always, Michael Damiani.
What's up? I got all the sips.
Oh, you got all the sips, baby, from Panera Bread.
All the sips.
The tea deal. Joining us this week, we got Mike Huber.
Yo.
And Daniel Bloodworth.
Hello.
Stacked panel this week.
Yes, it
for
is.
a stacked episode.
Yeah,
it is finally... Too many damn video games. It is finally time to talk about Starfield. We're going to get into all that good stuff. But before we do, please check us out on patreon.com/easyallies if you'd like to support us. It would mean the world to us if you'd head on over there and show support if you can. But if you can't, it's all good. We're just happy to have you as a listener and a viewer. We appreciate it. Oh yeah, please leave us a nice review on podcast services. If you enjoy the show, we'd greatly appreciate that. Also, thank you, everyone, for sending in questions. As always, I cannot take every question, but I appreciate them. I read them all, so thank you. Boys, let's start with little icebreakers.
Okay.
Great. Gallant, not Goofus running. Hello, allies. I wanted to thank you for helping me at work. Recently, our team has grown larger, and we, as leadership, have been thinking of ways to make sure voices are heard and to make sure issues are resolved and spirits lift in the faces of sometimes stressful work. I decided to implement Keep It Up and Sort It Out segments during our bi-weekly meetings to discuss issues we've come across recently and to also acknowledge things our team has done that we appreciate. The first meeting went very well and multiple complaints were heard and resolved, and acknowledging each other was indeed uplifting. Thank you guys for providing us the framework for some great team building, love, and respect.
So
Did not expect that when we made this segment.
That's amazing.
That must be so cool to go to.
That
work
is
and be
crazy.
Like, it's like sort it out.
Sort it out. Do you have like a little note and you like
Copy machines
Yeah.
must start something. Sort it out. PC load letter.
Perfect.
Damn. Well, glad we could help. That's cool. Mm-hmm. This is from Danky Kang. Also, just want to let you know that I love you all, and I hope that I age as gracefully as you. We'll take that. That's a nice compliment. That's a hell of a compliment.
Wow.
Yeah. Gracefully
Feels
aging.
good, man. Yeah.
Fine wine.
Yeah, we're getting old, so we'll take it. All day, every day.
Vintage now.
Yeah, we are vintage. Definitely. We're retro. We're retro.
And I saw someone say that people need to stop using retro to describe old things because what it actually means doesn't like work.
What's that?
So you say like retroactive or retrograde. It's like that's not like correct. Like classic or vintage is a more appropriate. I was like, come on, like words evolve in like
That's true.
It's slang. It's a slang word. Retro games it's slang.
Yeah.
It's not literally saying retrograde games.
Like
it's
indie.
come on.
It's slang, I guess.
Like what is slang?
Indie, when we talk about games.
Oh, triple I.
Triple I is Triple I is the way to go for
I.
us. All right, Starfield. It's time. We're gonna have Damiani kick this off because we're gonna cut this out actually into an individual segment. Something we're gonna try out.
Sure.
So Damiani, please take it away.
All right. Hey, we're here to talk about Starfield, this massive game that is just like dropped into our laps. You might be wondering where the review is. It is still in the works. Easy chillin', kind of put a 3-ish days, kind of like bam, no time to play it. And this game is massive. I'll say that it's very massive. And so trying to do a thorough job, try not to just like beeline it through the story, trying to spend time doing all the side activities. So it's time to get a little bit in depth here. So if you're looking for as close to a review as possible, this is the place to check it out. So listen up, here it comes. You've been waiting for this. Let's get into it. Woo! All right. So yes, this is a massive game. To be transparent, the only other Bethesda's games that I have touched in this vein, I played a bit of Skyrim. I tried out Elder Scrolls Online and bailed.
Okay.
So I wouldn't really count that. And I played a tiny bit of Oblivion for some project. And I think I liked Oblivion more than Skyrim in the end. I was very intrigued by Skyrim. I was liking what they were doing with it, and that also could just speak to like I hadn't played any of the previous Elder Scroll games, and also I didn't finish it. I got to a part like I did like the first dragon. like there's a part where the first dragon came down. I was like, oh shit, like yikes, like what do I do here? Later on, like second dragon encounter, I was fighting some mage outside a house, and a dragon came down, and they started fighting each other. So I like, oh, things can fight. Oh, enemies can fight. Oh, this is sick. So like. This was constant. I was really captivated by this world, but obviously, like fantasy games, done a lot. You know, sci-fi games also speak to me. Like I love fantasy, sci-fi. So here comes Starfield, and I'm like, here we go, space exploration. Which is funny because I never dove into No Man's Sky.
Oh,
I think there's something about
Shocking.
just procedurally generated stuff that I kind of tune out. It's hard to get me invested in that. Also, yeah, the original launch didn't go over well. I was like, let me hear what other people have to say. I know it is in a much better spot now, but as we said, you know, cataclysmic wave of content just don't have time to sink enough time into what I think would be appropriate for No Man's Sky. So I'm like, you know what, Starfield, here comes a chance where I can try out, you know, a game from a company I don't generally play from Bethesda, and you know, spacefaring RPG. So you know, this is something that kind of like intrigued me, and there were a lot of people like. The narrative was kind of going back and forth with this game. So, you know, Microsoft, people saying, I think you even said you were like, this game has to do well after the Redfall, you know, kind of like stumbling out the gates. Mm-hmm. So this is like high stakes. I'm like, you know what? Let me see how this is. Like that wasn't really factoring into anything, but like I was also very curious to see. And yeah, I've put in just over like 65 hours into it.
Healthy.
This game has so many moving parts to it, but I will say it has a lot of what you've come to expect from these types of Bethesda games. Like if you've played Skyrim, if you played Fallout, there's gonna be a lot of familiar stuff here, and they do some new things. I think it is best described as you have like the RPG systems where you're like doing your character, making your choices, just deciding which path you want to follow. Do you want to go down this quest line with this NPC introduced? Do you want to stick to the main story? Do you just want to go out and randomly like explore a planet and maybe there's some thread that starts there? That's all there as well. And managing all those perks, all those like, you know, your gear. Oh my God, like encumbered. Okay, I forget how encumbered works in other Bethesda games, but how it works in here, this is the first big thing. You have an oxygen system even on planets with like an Earth-like planet. You still have to deal with the oxygen. It's your stamina meter, basically. Once you deplete it, you start building up CO2 for the same amount of so it's like half a circle for your O2 meter. You deplete it when you're like sprinting or jumping, and then it goes to the CO2, which is like a red meter. If it fills up, you start losing life.
Whoa.
So you don't move slow or anything like that. You just start burning through your stamina and then start losing life. The other penalty is you cannot fast travel. You cannot like fast travel on the planet. Nice. You cannot warp to your ship, and as in your ship, you cannot just like make.
How does the encumber impact the oxygen level? Because the oxygen happens whether you're encumbered or not.
Yeah, so it's just constantly going. So
it constantly.
So as long as if you move faster than a slow walk. So there's sprint, there's fast walk, and there's slow walk, like the analog stick. So if you move past a certain speed, it just starts depleting your oxygen, no matter what.
Oh wow!
When you're sprinting, that's when it starts depleting oxygen. You can like walk fast normally, and you're totally fine. Like nothing's wrong with that, unless there's some kind of like environmental hazard or something. Then you're fine. So that's really how it works. The biggest issue is, to me, it's more of a pain in two situations. One, when you want to fast travel, it's like, oh, I just collected all this shit. Oh, what the hell? The ship's so far away. I can't. So I was like, what do I dump so I can like get back there? Or you're in a heavy combat situation, you can't sprint. It's like, I need to sprint to get away and get behind cover, or jump. And it's like, it all adds up. And you're taking damage, you're trying to like heal, and you're like, why am I still taking, oh my God, I'm like, yeah, like I'm accumulating CO2, I'm screwed. I gotta find a point to like bunker down and regain my oxygen so that I can like move again. So it's something you don't want to be caught unprepared. You don't want to like stumble into a situation where, because most of the time it's fine. It's like just walk, casually, you'll be fine. But around a corner, there might be like an enemy encounter if you're going to another objective. So it's best deal with that, and they do give you ample ways to deal with it, but still it can be a little annoying when you're like very deep into a mission and it's like very deep, like in a cave of a planet. It's like there is nothing to dispose of this other than dropping it? I was like, I want to either sell this stuff. These are resources. Everything has a purpose to an extent. Obviously, there's the dumb things like tissues and all that. You can mess with bread, but like you have your healing stuff, and not just like for like HP, but like there are status ailments you got to deal with, like poisoning or radiation, burns, and certain med packs heal certain things, and you got to deal with. There's also like buff stuff. Like there's this thing called amp, which makes you like move faster and increases your like
is it like jet or whatever?
Yeah, same kind of thing. Like all of these.
Does your
different ways
character
that you
go?
can buff it.
Yeah.
Well, no,
When you take
it gets like this like kind of like halo effect on the edges of the screen. There's stuff that like can help you with like your skills. There's one that increases persuasion for like 2 minutes or 20 minutes.
Okay.
There's something that does increase your carrying capacity temporarily. So like if you had that, oh shit, maybe this will bail me out. So, and then you got like your helmet, your jetpack, or your boost pack, and your suit. And those have different stats as well, like different types of offensive, defensive stats against, and then various attributes. Like you have stats that protect you against like radiation, heat, other types of exposure, and then they have like their bonus stats under there. And you have your weapons. There's so many different types of weapons in this game, and all this can be modified as well. You can go to there's a crafting system in this game. You can craft new mod parts. You can craft new like health packs. You can craft food.
Yeah, the basement of the main base is like you walk down there and it's like, oh, here's like 5 crafting tables for different things.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And
While we're talking about gear and loot and items, Damiani, my biggest complaint usually well, one is picking up trash, but 2 is how meaningful is this loot when you find it? Did you find what is it mostly just crafting for that stuff, or did you find
any enemy will have
literally everything, and like almost everything, even like dead corpses you come across have a bunch of stuff on them. As you play, you'll get used to a lot of the names. Like obviously credits, that's your currency, your economy in this game, Huber. Anytime you go over something, you see credits, immediate grab. Ammo doesn't take up any it doesn't take any mass. Mass is how you become encumbered. So it's like anything that has mass accumulates toward that. No ammo has mass as far as I understand. So any ammo packs, you just want to pick them up, because ammo can be a problem in this game if you're not like keeping on top of that. Everything else is either,
especially if you favor specific weapons, right? Like you might have a bunch of ammo for a weapon that you aren't really using, but you switch over to it because like I'm out of laser charges or whatever they are.
That's very true. I will say I kept a variety of weapons on me at all times because there's such a wide range of ammo. There were ones I favored, but like you will burn through a lot of them very quickly. So like one of them was like, oh, we got like 200 rounds, and it's like an assault rifle, and it's like few fights, and it's like it's all gone. I'm like, oh crap. And then like then there's like shotguns. There are a bunch of different shotguns in this game. There was one that was like so they have their like basic, like epic, rare, legendary, like the golds are the best. I got like a gold shotgun. It's like old fashioned double barrel, but like only 2 shots, and like I couldn't afford a mod to increase the magazine for it. I mean. And then I found a better shotgun. It was more like a riot shotgun that was like sick, multiple rounds, like comedic explosive rounds on it. So I was like, this is more my wheelhouse. Even though it did less damage, sometimes you got to look at those perks because it's not just raw damage. You got to take like this is like armor piercing. It's good against like mechs.
So exploring and discovering that stuff was fun throughout your journey, Damiani. That's really the only thing I care about.
So
in this game, like if the story is good and like I'm rewarded for my exploration.
A little bit more complicated than that. On basic missions, I feel like it's just combing through trash a lot of the times. There's useful stuff, but I was just like, man, this is a lot of the same stuff. Like I didn't always come across something like very interesting, even like weapon-wise. That being said, there are some rewards at the end of those, especially some optional stuff. The coolest one I'll do, I want to shout out this one. I didn't even get this as a side quest. I just ended up overhearing something near a base about something called like the mantis, and I'm like, what the heck is this mantis thing? I'm on this planet. I went to this random military compound. I'm like, they're talking about this mantis thing, and like I find a document. I'm like, oh, secret base. Okay, I'll go check it out. So I found a document, and it said like read the document. So if you don't read it, you won't get the quest. So I read it, got the quest. I'm like, okay, like I got a quest to my document. Go to this compound, and I come across like the sickest like gear set in the game. This mantis looks badass, and I got their ship.
Amazing.
And I was like, dude, wait, what? I got a ship?
And you were on a random planet, you found a document, you read it.
Yeah, I went to this base,
amazing.
Infiltrated the base. No one's alive, but like it's got automated defense systems.
Cool.
But then there are just as many quests where it's like, here's another one of these like basic weapons. And
got it. So it's hit or miss, pretty much.
But it goes back and forth. Like there are some really good highs in there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's like, man, it's just more of the same, more of the same. Yeah,
more
for
filler
sure.
kind of feeling.
Yeah.
More filler, or just like not special. That it feels a little bit more formulaic.
Sure.
It was almost like, man, I kind of like these one-off missions that pop out of nowhere, as well as a lot of the factions. There are definitely factions in this game. You can choose to ignore them. You can choose to try and sign up with them. They have their own quest line. I think I told you a little bit about this, Huber, but I went down the kind of like the Old West faction, the Rangers.
Hell yeah. Right?
Yeah, the Freestar Rangers on a planet called Aquila. And it's like, looks like a cross between like an Old West town and Mos Eisley.
Dude.
Cool.
And you start by showing up, and the marshal is trying to deal with a bank heist gone wrong where they're holding hostages.
Oh my goodness.
And you try and step in and deal with the situation. So you can try and persuade and talk them down. You can that's how I ended up doing it. Like it was tense. I was like, oh my God, like I got really close. To be fair, like for a little while I didn't really understand the persuasion system. I thought it was like listening to the logic of their conversations, but each one has a point value, and they show it's green, yellow, red, how likely. Obviously, the lower ones have a higher chance of succeeding. So it's like behind this under the hood stuff going on.
Got it.
And there's even a perk that will increase your chance of those succeeding.
Cool.
And then you'll see on the bottom how many turns you have to achieve enough points to convince them.
Okay.
So like a +1 option will only give you 1 point. And like they start off like you only need 4 points, but they get as complicated as you need 6 points sometimes.
Wow.
But yeah, you could have like
that sounds fun.
Like they were even alluding to like maybe you have to storm in through the back. So one of the rangers said, "Oh, there's a back entrance. You could break it down and
that
go there."
Immersive sim vibe,
and you can choose going guns blazing if you want. And from there, they recruit you, and you go down a path where you're investigating why farmers are being terrorized by these kind of bandits, and like they're trying to scare them off their farms. Like, why do they want to do that? Takes you down this path where you basically meet this war veteran named like Hughes, I think is his name, Colonel Hughes or Colonel something, who's basically like a little bit like I told Bloodworth this, like Ed Harris from The Rock, where there was a war that happened before and they were betrayed basically, like they were left to die and like sold out, and like they went like some of them were tried as war criminals, and so he's trying to get his revenge. And you find out like he's also tied into like a corrupt politician, so it's like all this stuff goes down. And like the thing is, it's not scripted. Like you can choose to like kill him, you can like hear him out, and then when you confront the politician, you can try and like go in guns blazing. You can try and hear him out as well, because like he makes his argument. The politician's like, I'm head of a huge corporation that like is responsible for like thousands of jobs. You take me down, this could be in the company. You're ending thousands of lives there as well. So you just keep that in mind. And you like, you want to take a bribe? What you want to like work something out? So it's like you can do that. You can be good in this game and be like the lawful person. You can be gray and like I want to be good here, but I've said with this person here, I'm gonna be more vigilante. Or you can just be like a complete asshole in this game. I mean, but like people, the thing is, people do remember that. There are kind of like a main core cast of characters, a group called Constellation. That's kind of like the beginning of the game. You're a miner. You come across this artifact. You have this weird vision. And then through circumstances, you are recruited by Constellation, brought to the home, basically the new Earth, essentially. Yeah. Because Earth is no longer inhabitable, and so you move planets. And they tell you their missions, like we're trying to solve this mystery. Like we think it's the greatest mystery in the universe about collecting these artifacts and what did they mean. Cool. And that's like kind of your main plot line there. And those characters, you can stick with them. You can take them on missions with you. You can learn more about them. I haven't been able to romance anyone. There's flirt options, but like there's no like there hasn't been like a marry or anything like that yet.
I think that they're there eventually. But yeah, just like for instance, like Sarah's like the leader, right?
Yes,
yeah,
Sarah's
so
the leader.
She comes along with you at the beginning. I'm still like very early on. I'm just like basically past the tutorial. But like I was wandering around the town exploring with her, and I walked into this bank, and this banker is like giving you these side quests. So like, hey, we got a bunch of people that owe us money. You know, you go out and like collect debts from them, and he's trying to
Arthur Morgan, dude, debt collecting.
Yeah, so he's like trying to reassure you. He's like, look, like these. I'm not asking you to go like take grandma's purse or something like that. These are all. He's like trying to convince you these are all bad people, et cetera, et cetera. You just agree to do that quest, not even go out and do it. And Sarah's like, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
So they react to the choices you make, like in the moment.
It does the thing where like the so and so liked that or didn't like that, and like that can impact like down the line of choices. But like the free ranger thing, the marshal who recruited you, after you go on all your adventures, you kind of have like a performance review. And he'll judge you based on what you did at each point of that quest line, going through all those quests. Like, you handled that well. Oh, that was a little like, you know, aggressive there. Like, you know, that wasn't really like the free ranger way or whatever. Like, you know, and it sounded like they asked me for my evidence. And there was stuff I collected and I presented it. And if you didn't collect that, I'm guessing they might have believed you about accusing the politician. Yeah, like the politician, like you say, they're the ones responsible for this. Like, where's your evidence? And then your options are, it will be anything that's in, like, I think you've earned through skills or your choices will be in brackets. Otherwise, it's just the normal choices. Yeah. And so if you got a bracket choice, like, oh, because of your specialty or because you found something or you said something, that is now a choice you can pick. And I was able to present evidence that was in the brackets, like, oh, shit, like, what if I screwed up? But, like, they let this dude go or something? So those are the questions you're asking. I think the game does a decent enough job about how could have this gone down differently, or that you have enough choice. And to me, it never felt too complicated where it's like, man, I feel like there's like only like one or two or maybe even three ways anything could ever go. Not that there are like a million different decisions. So like from what I've seen of you guys with playing like, you know, Baldur's Gate, that's obviously like the high end of the spectrum with decisions and consequences. This is a little bit more towards like the, like, you know, above average. It's like in the space between middle and where Baldur's Gate is, I think. I would say Mass Effect probably had a little bit more impact in the choices. Really? Sorry, no, less. Sorry, I got it backwards. Yeah, sorry, a little bit less. So I put like Mass Effect like in the middle, and Baldur's Gate at the edge, and this like in between those two. Sorry, yeah, I got that backwards. Sorry.
Yeah, and with these things too, like Damian is saying, like you have the factions and stuff, and some of that stuff you have to like, you know, sort of choose like whether you want to like when you choose your traits and stuff, when you make your character, you can choose to align yourself with some of these factions before you even know who they are.
Oh, like that's a background?
Yeah, part of your background.
Yep.
That stuff really intrigues me, all that background stuff.
And so, but it was interesting
field day with that.
Because like he was saying, like I picked Freestar as part of my background, and then I was wandering around the first city, New Elthanas, and I walk into this like real estate office, and it was like, you know, and she's like, I was asking her like, hey, I'd be interested in getting a house or whatever, right? You know, getting a place. And she's like, no, you're not a citizen of the UC or whatever it is. UC. So you have to be a citizen to get a home in town. So
yeah, I didn't pick that either, but I eventually did do that. It's like funny. Like, I want to give shout out to this mission, even if you don't want to roll as a UC. I think starting it, because the UC first quest is like an orientation mission, which takes you through like a pavilion, a museum with all these exhibit displays that kind of chronicle the last 200-300 years of history. So it's like good. I mean, other characters you'll learn about this from, but this is a very succinct way to learn the history of this universe, this galaxy. And it like made a big difference for me because once I did that, like I kind of understood. I was like, wow, like it's very nicely done. It feels like it sets the background for a lot of the different characters I've come across in different worlds that have civilizations. It all plays into that. And where I'm at now, it plays a lot more into it. So I was like, oh, it's really important. But this was like really nice to see why certain characters have their allegiances. You know, there's like these few wars that happened, and like it's good world building. Like, it's about space exploration and all these colonies that have been settled in the future. It's like, how did this happen? Like, did every sci-fi movie is like, oh, we just invented space travel and woo, everything's colonized, whoop-de-doo. Like, they try and get a little bit into the politics of it. They like have a thing where there's like an accord that everyone agreed upon that said twofold. One, you can't restrict humans from just exploring space because like humans don't own space. So like, it's okay for humans to go anywhere in the galaxy and explore. So like you have the freedom to go and explore anywhere you want, you know. Two, though, to make sure no group gets too powerful to keep things in check, you're only allowed to like colonize up to 3 solar systems or something like that. So no one can have like a sphere of influence greater than 3 solar systems. And one of the first wars started because, someone wanted to have more than that, and everyone else like, no, you can't do that. So, you know, people started fighting, and then like more factions started to form, and then like obviously bigger factions, they have disagreements, so you find out like why some of these groups don't like each other. And I was like, oh, that adds way more context, because they were like, yeah, like the Freestar like the Freestar in like UC having some animosity, like I had a cool mission that wasn't even a side quest. I just stumbled upon it on a planet where a compound was being attacked by space bandits. And UC, I think it was UC and Marines were there, like Mars Marines. It was 2 military factions, but they hated each other. But they had to force to work together to deal with these like bandits that were overwhelming them. And I was like, oh, why do they hate each other and stuff? And then later I got the context, like, oh, okay, like this makes sense. Like they had a war against each other, and like, you know, they're kind of still bitter because it was kind of recent.
I have several questions for you,
sure,
but let's start off first with the factions. Mm-hmm. I assume there's going to be factions. If you side with one, it'll cut you off from others.
I've not encountered being cut off from anything yet.
Okay.
So I started I went as an explorer, so I had no allegiance to anyone. I was just like, I want specialty to explore and go into space. Obviously, Constellation's the first group you join. I don't think you can refuse them. I don't remember if there's a way.
I don't know that you could.
Yeah.
That's the main quest. So
I joined
potentially could, but who knows?
Yeah, I joined the Freestar Rangers. I did all their quest line, finished all that. I then joined the UC. I joined the UC faction, and like that seemed fine. But like,
you can be in multiple factions at once.
I don't know if you can be at the same time. I mean, I started, I had 2 up, but there just seemed like there might be ones that aren't there. There's like these, I forget what they're called, but they revere some serpent god. There's two religious factions.
Yeah.
There's like the Sanctum of Light or Universum Sanctum and the Serpent religion. And I don't think you can be in both of those at the same time. That would be kind of weird and break like the RP rules, because they're antagonistic against each other. And in some of the starting, when you're doing the world building, it does say if you pick this faction, you are locked out from the perks or the rewards of this. But I don't know if in the game there's a way to, once you start playing, like either betray your current faction to go to the other one. So like, I don't know if you can be in every single faction.
Like you don't know if you could finish one quest line and go to the other one.
I imagine you can be locked out temporarily for something, or at some point you'll be perma-locked out. But I think within the game, there's always a chance to, I feel like there's a chance to like make a decision to like switch sides. And you're just given that one opportunity of like a point of no return. And yeah, but as far as I've come across, like I have not been locked out of anything. There's been like no choice that said you can't do that, read it out or anything like that. So... But like, I feel like it has to be there because the logic reasons, like how can you be part of 2 factions that are against each other at the same time?
Right. Gotta ask, man.
Yeah.
Performance, how is it in this game? This is a Bethesda game at launch.
All right, well, here we go.
And to be clear, you've been playing the Series X version the vast majority.
Yeah, I tried out Series S for a day. Series X, there was
a big patch that just dropped.
Day 1 patch, so I need to like check that out on the Series X, which I'll do tomorrow. Okay. So like before the review, I'll be able to like check that out. I will say it has got a lot of bugs. It's definitely got performance issues. Like noticeably when you're sprinting, Blood I think has seen it too, sprinting through like high density areas like cities sometimes when there's a lot going on, it will just like chug for a second. There have been times where it's outright stopped the game, looks like it froze for a second, and then it like unlocks. I've only had one crash so far, which I guess is pretty good, all things considered. But a lot of like goofy ass bugs. I had one where like I think I showed you guys the clip where like there's a cyberpunk city called Neon where an NPC's body just didn't load, so it looked like their head and their limbs were just like floating in midair.
Yeah.
I had one where I went to a quest at the Constellation headquarters, the lodge, and no one's hair loaded, so everyone was just bald. I had an elevator that had like infinite spawn of NPCs coming out of it at one point. I had a major NPC. His name's Sam Coe. Dude, real quick, Sam Coe. He has a daughter named Cora, and like, but like Coral.
Right.
He looks like it looks. I swear this is a Walking Dead
It's gotta
like thing.
be.
It
It's
is
gotta be.
because it's his daughter, and he like
sure.
he's like the like
Cora.
yeah. It's like okay, I think this is a Walking Dead now.
For
Anyway,
sure.
you're
Sick.
walking with him, and he's giving you like a major. He's giving you story info for a main story quest. And he just vanishes after like 3 words, and the sentence, the paragraph just ends. So like the text also vanishes too. So like I don't even get it. And there's no log to go back and read what he said.
Oh.
So I've had stuff like that. I've definitely had. There was one major quest. It's a spoiler thing to say what it was. That was like a big moment in the game. Like I was like, this is awesome, and I'm pretty sure the final trigger to complete this sequence wasn't working, and I had to back out of the environment, reload in, and I did the exact same thing I was doing, and it completed. And I was like,
yeah, I had the same thing happen very early on when I went to the lodge with Constellation, and you basically have like this, after your briefing, you have this chance to like go around and meet everybody, and Sarah was like, talk to this other girl, she'll show you where your room is and all that.
Yeah.
And and I talked to her about all kinds of stuff, and I was like, oh hey, they said you'd show me where my room is, and she's like, yeah, I'll give you the full tour, follow me. She just stands there, and nothing happened, and then I reloaded, had to do the whole cutscene of all the explanation of the artifact and all that, and did the same thing, like, and then like immediately like went to like give me the tour, and then she started giving me the tour, show me the bar, show me my room. And then I had a sort of similar thing where I had to reload a little bit later, where like I was just exploring like some apartment building, and then I came down the elevator, and then when I was in the elevator, I coming out, it just wouldn't do it. I could move the camera, but I couldn't walk, couldn't jump, couldn't do it, so I had to reload the last autosave. So there's little things like that, parts where you see somebody just like in a sitting position, just kind of like slide around the room a little bit.
Yeah, so that type of jank is there.
Okay. We call that Bethesda jank.
Yes. The Bethesda jank is there, and it's a nuisance. Except for like my one crash and like one have to reload. It's not like game breaking, but it is annoying. On top of that, this game is just not very polished, in my opinion. A lot of the animations are very stiff in this game. Like people
I've
come
seen
off
the
as
faces look really.
I know there's
still.
been leaks, and like I could say like some of that is definitely persistent. Like a lot of like the main core cast I think is pretty good, but a lot of NPCs I feel like either facial expressions sometimes don't match, or just like their animations look weird. They feel a little too robotic. Also, man, they gotta do a patch for like the camera, the cutscene camera work, because there are so many times the framing is so weird. It'll be like an major NPC is with you, so you can bring a companion with you at all times, and then you're talking to an NPC. There's times where the companion just walks right in front of them, and the framing just shows their face in front of mine. But like they're talking behind, and I'm like, wait, what? Who's talking? Or they like to interject every now and then, and the camera will cut to them. So many times they're like they're falling behind you. They don't get into the room, so it teleports to like a wall. There's like a wall is talking to you, like because they're not in the room. I'm like, wait, what is going on? And it's like, all right, there's stuff like that. It is like this is like.
Yeah, no,
immersion breaking 100%, for sure. Yeah,
because Bethesda lets people wander around, but then then they want to talk to them. So, one of my things that bugged me was the shopping stuff. Like it doesn't show when you're going through a shop. It doesn't show you how many of those things you have in like your inventory.
Oh, yeah.
What the heck?
And so it's like you're going, like you said, there's like 100 different healing things and food items and stuff like that. And it's like, I need to stock up, but I don't know if I even have any of these unless I like hop over to the sell menu and then kind of like go find it and then say, okay, I've got 30 of these or I don't have any of these and then go back and forth. And it's really clunky.
It's
That needs a
annoying.
patch
The other
for
one,
sure.
Blood, you mentioned you would have liked them to do this, and I definitely agree. When you're in major cities, there's no mini map. There's no map at all.
Map.
So you just gotta like get your bearings. I get that. Like sometimes like you should learn a thing, but like when there are multiple major cities and like multiple planets, like I get the planets you don't need to memorize, but there are several major cities. And they're not like open world size, but like you're going to them for specific purposes. You're not really exploring these cities. You're going to a venue. You're going to a shop. You're going to find an NPC in a place. And it's like they say where there are. And yes, there'll be something on your screen that tells you where to go to a critical point. But it's like, oh, I just want to go buy more like med packs or I need more ammo. If you don't remember in your head, like where's the nearest ammo store, it's like, where is it again? Oh, I have no idea. Like, or it's first time in your city, where's everything? They have signs and stuff, and you can sort of do that. And how much I played, I'm getting better at that. But I still would like. There's times like, man, can I just open up some kind of map just to see everything? Even if it's like you got to go through it first to unlock the map, like just some kind of trade off there because it does get a little frustrating for sure.
Frame rate, is this a consistent thing that's fluctuating, or is it pretty...
It fluctuates.
Yeah.
Pretty consistently?
Yeah, it's.
Okay.
I mean, again, it's only 30 frames, but there are numerous times where it's like dipping below that.
Okay.
Like it doesn't.
So it's not stable, though.
Not even just like running across like a barren planet. Sometimes, like if like there's some like. There are animals, creatures on these planets. One of them like burrows underground and pops up. There have been times where like they start doing that and like it'll definitely like hiccup when they're like they will spring up right next to you. It's like little hiccup there. I'm like, oh, okay. But like things load in because it's like procedurally generated. It's just sometimes something needed to load and it's like, well, it's slowing down right here for some reason, even though I'm like, this big giant rock. But it's, you'll notice it more even in closed environments, like in big firefights, it'll happen, every, like, pretty noticeably. So it's definitely not running at a stable 30.
Go ahead.
I'd like to ask about something else if we're done with performance. Any other performance?
No, I have one more thing. How does it look visually, this whole game?
So I think there are some environments that look pretty, like, good. Like, the city, like New Atlantis, like I like its vibe, especially like that courtyard, like outdoor area leading to the lodge with those like trees and like the water, like it's very pleasing, and I mean it looks like a futuristic city, and like neon, like obviously Cyberpunk 2077 blows it away in terms of like that aesthetic, but it's still a nice look to it. And Aquila, like the old West town, like I thought, like it's got the aesthetic and like it has those vibes. And some of the like outdoor environments beyond the cities, like, have some charm to them. Like there's sometimes I was like, that's pretty cool to look at. But a lot of the times it's not very impressive to me. And the place where it's the least impressive to me is in outer space.
Oh.
It does not look very good. Like coming up on a planet, like I feel like like you get up close to all these planets when you warp to them, and some of them just like, I'm like, man, that just looks like a large texture or something. Like it's like I feel like they could have done a slightly better job.
Well, I'll even say that like like if you're in like on a rooftop looking out at New Atlantis, like sometimes like if you look at like a lake or something.
Here we go.
Yeah, like it'll just the LOD of it. It just looks like some weird. It's not like it's not as bad as Pokemon, but like it reminded me of Pokemon, and that like. Stuff in the distance is like, this is extra flat and doesn't have like proper lighting. Yeah.
Did you have it a lot where your ship lands on a new planet for the first time and like you're looking, it does the exterior. So you get random viewpoints whenever you land or warp to a spot. So sometimes you're in your cockpit when you see the landing sequence. Sometimes you're the exterior view. And when the exterior view, sometimes everything just looks like, oh God, this looks like where is everything? It's
like not loading in.
It doesn't load a lot of stuff, and then all of a sudden it like looks nice. Even like the coloring of the planet will be like weird, and all of a sudden like it gets corrected. I'm like, whoa. So like you kind of like that jarring like sequence there. And yeah, I got up on like a giant like hill on one of these barren planets, and like in the distance I was like, oh, these rocks don't even like what am I looking at here? So I don't think they want you to have like large view, like the longer view distances. Like it definitely looks worse. But when you're like kind of up close and personal with stuff, it looks nice. That being said,
like water in particular does not look great.
Yeah,
from even like medium.
The water does not look good at all. Even in interior environments, you're gonna start noticing a little bit of the copy paste look in a lot of environments. In fact, there was one point where there was literally, you're in a space, like a base, like a space base, and there's a part where like there's a blown wall and it goes through like a cave and it like loops around. And like I thought I was like, wait, did I come back to the same base? Because it did the same loop around to like an artifact location. Like, is finding more artifacts. Like, wait, it did the exact same thing, like it did like an hour or so ago, and I'm like, oh god, is it just like entrances to doors?
That sounds like Skyrim, yeah.
To be fair, whenever we do explore space and stuff, like you're gonna use efficient parts are not going to be look elaborate and complex. You're going to need to. That's how like design works. So I gave it a pass for a lot of the environmental designs because I do think while the components look familiar, the exteriors to a lot do look a little bit varied. And let's face it, it's like, it's not like exotic looking. It's like more grounded in realism and like. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get stuff that looks believable, but not as impressive visually. But when you get into the interiors, it's definitely, you start to notice things like, all right, this is like getting a little bit too repetitive here. Some environments do like a pretty good job of keeping it varied, but after I think it's just hard after so many hours to keep doing that. And it's like the nature of how they generate these worlds and these environments. I'm talking about like the random bases or outposts on these like uncharted planets.
I mean, Mass Effect had a lot of that same kind of issue as well. So what did you want to ask, Huber?
Combat, dude. How does it feel to blast people away? And how's the variety and the enemy types and the balance between stealth and guns blazing?
All right. So I did not have any kind of a stealth build. So I didn't have like any kind of like cloak or sneaking. There is a perk that reduces your sound. So a lot of times when I approached enemies, like they're just gonna know I'm there. So it's like I gotta go in for a gunfight. So my playthrough, it's very straightforward and upfront. Like when there's a fight, it's like I have a certain amount of distance for like once we cross this point, it's gonna be a fight. And obviously, I favor guns over like melee weapons. There are axes, there are knives,
knives and stabbing weapons.
Yeah, there's another melee weapon I think too. And I didn't really gravitate towards those.
Did you use them?
I tried out. Actually, I used a knife at one point in melee, and dodging and getting in and getting a hit, and like that's definitely like a thing you can do.
Cool.
And if you like boosting that with your perks and increasing that damage, that's definitely the way to go. Mm-hmm. I will say this is RPG. There's definitely something going on under the hood, because they have crit shots on like headshots as well. So you're shooting ahead, some will do some damage. Like there's damage variance for sure. I will definitely say early in the game, I felt like I was definitely up close and personal, shooting in the head, and it like, where's the damage? Why is it not like, not that it was like low damage, like I'm just missing. How am I missing? Like, is there like an RP? Like the gunplay in the earlier parts wasn't feeling great to me. Later on, now that I've gotten a little bit used to it, it's definitely like better, but I don't think this is great. Like the gunplay is not the greatest in my opinion. There's a lot of like weirdness to it. There's like you're taking cover, you're clearly line of sighting something, but still clipping through a little bit. Like there's one part where there's automated turrets. I like was peeking to see where they are. I'm like, okay, they're over there. I'm gonna hide behind this now, and like I'm still getting hit through it. I'm like, yo, I'm literally behind a solid object. How are you hitting me right now? And then like pop out and like shoot it. It's like, okay, fine.
Okay, game.
Yeah, I mean, the enemies, like, they don't just stand there, but also they do like some annoying things sometimes. Like they like will run away. They'll like they'll jump up to like, some have jetpacks, so like it can be frustrating to deal with that. And I think that's fair. It's part of it. But at the same time, there's definitely certain guns I've gravitated towards because they just work better, like assault rifles. Like whether they're semi-automatic, automatic, like I definitely like them. Like auto shotguns are definitely really good for me. I don't like pistols. Was not really digging pistols, and like slow loading shotguns like just weren't worth it because even though it's two powerful shots, like there are a lot of enemies that won't take them down. And now like reload, like some of these reload enemies, you'd like this, Huber. They're varying reload animations. Some of them are really long, man.
Yeah.
So you got to get in cover or make sure those shots count. And again, like ammo, it's like how many shots do I have for this? And yeah, you're dealing with all of this, Huber.
How are the like combat scenarios? Is it like walk into an arena, guns blazing? Like, or is there variety in the types of encounters? Like, maybe in this encounter you have to go for the ads and take them out, or like maybe this arena has traps, or maybe this arena is way more vertical or has no cover.
A little bit of the latter in that.
Yeah.
So what I've come across, there's a lot of encounters where there might be like traps, like mines. People like storming that Free Ranger quest line. One of them was storming their military compound. And the lead up to it, they set a bunch of traps. So you have a scanner, so you can scan stuff, and like the better you have, the better range you have. But like avoiding traps like that, and then sometimes they might have like automated defense systems. They got turrets, they got robots, they got like cameras, security cameras. But there usually is almost an opportunity to go to a terminal, deactivate them, or even turn them to defend you as well. And that's part of the strategy as well. There's also environmental things you can deal with. A lot of exploding barrels. So you got to like pay attention to that as well. Some environments are just like, it's outdoors, so they're just like you got to deal with the regular terrain. Some of them are indoors. Some of them it's very like claustrophobic. Some of them they have stairwells, multiple rooms that you're going through.
Sometimes when you're outside, there'll be like a drop ship that comes in and extra troops will come out. Yeah.
Cool. There was like essentially one mission to me that for me was like a horde mode where you had to defend for a certain amount of time, and more and more waves came in. So there's like a lot of like context to some of these people. One of them was like ambushing a stolen spaceship essentially, and it's like you had to like persuade them to either get on board, or there's space combat we haven't gotten into yet. You can fight them and disable them, then board them, and so you're moving from compartment to compartment in there, and they're like dealing with like waves of enemies. Also, the variety of enemies. Yes, there are human enemies that just like have different types of weapons that come after you. Like they have melee, shotgun. They can use everything that you're using as well. Then there's the wildlife. There are giant ass creatures that are like range from like really easy to kill to like these behemoths. It's like you better be careful. They're gonna be charging you, dude. Nice. So like you better be ready to deal with them, because they like aggro a pack of them. It's like you're screwed. I'll give a shout out to the variety example of a good variety. There's one mission called the Red Mile. I don't know if you've gotten into that yet, Blood.
No,
I don't even know if you have to do it, but there's something called the Red Mile in this game, which is basically like they bet on whether you'll survive it or not. Nice. You have to reach a goal, like capture the flag, and then bring it back. That's fun. It's a gauntlet of things that you have to deal with, traps and wildlife.
So it sounds like there's a lot of good variety to the combat scenarios.
Yeah, I will say though, it does more often than not though, it just comes down to like a shooting match.
For sure.
And it's you to its credit, you can do it however you want. You can go through guns blazing. You can be more methodical, take cover, and advance slowly. Or there was one where I was like confused about what I was supposed to do, and I think I understand now what I was supposed to do. But I was like, I basically have the crit path to the objective. So like, I'm gonna find a way to run past everything here, because like I'm just getting my butt kicked right now, and like this is frustrating. So maybe I could just reach the goal and like lock them out, and like that's what I did. Like I found a way to get up there. So there's always a way to deal with stuff. But I will say that you'll like this, Huber. I played on like, I think there are difficulty settings, and I played on like the normal difficulty. And yeah, I'm dying quite a bit.
Nice.
And health. It does feel like health is very precious in this game, and like you got to be careful. Ammo and health. And there are fights where it's like I lost many times before. Like, okay, I know a better way to do this. I got this now. And then there's some that I thought were gonna be harder. I was like, oh, that was pretty easy. I was able to deal with that. So yeah, it's not a pushover by at all, Huber. So I think you'll favor that. And
that sounds fun.
You can even crank it up, I believe. I'm pretty sure. It's been like almost 2 weeks and 60 plus hours. I don't remember the very beginning of the game where I thought there was a difficulty setting for sure. I don't know if you can change it once you're in, but I think you definitely pick it at the beginning.
You probably can, but I don't remember. I want to, like, I know we've been going pretty long on this, but I do want to talk about the ship combat, because I've only seen it in the tutorial, and I'm curious, like, how you feel about that, and like all the different power fluctuations you can do.
I will say this is probably the most one of the more underwhelming parts of the game, unfortunately. Maybe they have some grand battle they're waiting to drop on me, but I've definitely fought multiple ships at once. So how it works is you can lock onto a ship. And you can have up to 3 different weapon types. You can have like lasers, ballistics, missiles. You can have EM weapons. You have a variety of weapons you can choose from. I think there's like 6 different categories you can pick, and you can have up to 3 equipped on certain ship models. Obviously, ship type plays into this. Like just like your gear, you can have multiple ships, and some are more equipped for like. They're frigate ships. They're for cargo, and like we haven't even gone into like that stuff yet. But
all this other stuff,
the sim stuff. There's like sim resource management stuff, outposts. So you can do ships like that are better equipped with that. That's also a thing. You could dump your excess stuff on your ship's cargo bay, and they have a limit of how much they can hold too. Otherwise, when they get over the limit, they can't like warp either. Then there are combat ships. There are like tank type ships that can take a lot of damage. There's stuff that are like more agile. So if you like more like a starfighter type thing, and ultimately, it just boils down to it feels very slow moving. It doesn't feel very fast paced. You lock onto a ship and you just fire. You obviously it depletes your resources. They'll regenerate. Like each type of weapon, you burn through it the more you use it, and then you have to wait for it to recharge. But this feels like you're just spamming everything at once. I mean, there is some granularity to it. Like sometimes you want to be using this. Like you definitely want to take down their shields first before you start using some of your other weapons. So you want to focus on weapons that are better taking down shields. And it's just not. That part of it's not very engaging. There is a kind of like a focus mode where it zooms in on the ship and you can target their individual systems. So you can type in their different weapons, their shields, their engine, their grav drive. And it's trying to evoke FTL because you see the bars, and you can do that in real time too. So in real time, you can redistribute power from one thing to the other if you really want to get that advanced. You can also get up in the middle of the fight and go do stuff if you want to, you can just get up from your cockpit and try and handle something. I wouldn't recommend that, but maybe you have the ship has healing items, like these healing blocks, and if they're not in the cargo bay, you can't actually use them, I believe. So if they're all on you, it's I think you have to get up and deposit them, but you probably should have taken care of that ahead of time, because if you're doing that and you're in that dire of a situation, you're probably dead anyway. But yeah, it feels like every battle, it's I just lock onto one, target its shields, disable its shields, evasive maneuver, loop around them, target them again, go into that focus mode, and just disable all their weapons one by one, and they blow up. And it's unless they have more than 4 or 5 ships, I never felt like I was at risk. I'm man, I'm just obliterating everything. This is with the starter ship that you get. I did modify it, but eventually I got 2 better ships. And with that better ship, I'm never scared of anything now.
Wow.
So they're not very engaging to me. Okay. And the other thing that hurts it is that the space environments aren't very unique. The most you ever see is empty space or asteroids around you, and that's it. I get that's kind of space, but no weird anomalies or anything like that. No battles in the atmosphere. This is another disappointing part of this game. I know they made it clear you couldn't fly into planets, but you are restricted to the space around the planet. You can't go to the planet. You can't go to nearby objects around the planet. So if there's a space station that's not targetable, it's a unique location you can visit, and you can still see it, you can't even fly to it. There's a moon right next to the planet. You can't fly to the moon. You got to go into the menu and teleport to grav drive, jump to it, and that's then you can't fly on planets at all. So it's very restrictive. So the space exploration part of this game is one of the biggest disappointments to me. Does not scratch that itch at all for me. And that kind of trickles into the last thing real quick. Planetary exploration.
Yes,
when you're going to these uncharted, you were asking about this. Obviously, a lot of planets have random outposts, and you might get a cool adventure there. But more often than not, it's just maybe there's a few enemies, or there's some few documents there, maybe a weapon or something.
You go around scanning a lot of plant life.
But yes,
animals
the
and that
scanning
kind of
part of this, the survey planets, to me got so boring so fast, and I'm I have no interest in this. Scanning enemies and stuff will give you details about them, but more often than not, it's I don't have an interest in this. I just let's go. Everything else is more interesting.
Just for example, plants, right? To fully survey a whole planet, you scan these plants or whatever, but it's it's not good enough to just scan one plant one time. You have to scan like multiple instances of that same plant like 4 times or whatever to complete that one plant.
Yeah.
And then you find the next plant and you scan that 4 or 5 times. And so,
Wow.
yeah.
That sounds time consuming.
I can see that getting kind of old after.
Yeah,
from 4 or 5
and like
hours.
a fully surveyed planet, like some quests want you to fully survey a planet, but like the real benefits of like fully surveying a planet, you know, is just like what resources are there, and that's kind of like it. So far as I know, you can't improve your scanner to scan from further away, and have to scan fewer of those to complete the thing.
Okay, nice.
So you can reset, but the other part of it is like they have this giant outpost building system in here where you can use your resources to plant an outpost and then build supplemental structures. So like let's say you want to make a facility you found like this random rock out there, and it's got rich in silver and gold or whatever, and you want to like mine all that constantly.
Barren.
So like you start putting down like harvesting devices, and then you got to link them to a storage device, and then you got to power those devices. So it's very overwhelming to have the amount of resources to build a competent outpost, and then that's just for like mining. Then you have you can make like living quarters for like personnel, and then you got to like power those as well. And you can get as intricate as going like,
Well, and then you have to have the people.
Yeah, then you have to assign
personnel
crew.
Just don't pop up. You recruit people and then you assign them
Oh, that
to your
sounds
outpost.
really fun.
Yeah.
You could get lost in that for a long time.
So I will
imagine.
to be fair, it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
For people maybe into that, it seems like it could get pretty in depth. And every major city has like bars where you can go recruit, or like gathering spots where you can recruit new crew members, and you'll see their specialties, and like you can even persuade them to lower the price. Some will do it for free.
I'm super obsessed and into it, Damiani, but it more often than not, 9 out of 10 times in games, it's just you don't need that stuff. You used to do all this work, you recruit everybody, you build this thing, and you're mining these resources, and it's like, dude, I'm just good with what I have anyway.
Or like the resources you're mining are so that you can put another outpost somewhere else.
Yeah. It's just this weird loop in itself. Yeah.
Yeah, like it feels like a time.
But it sounds really fun to
in such
like
a large
RP that. The RP of it sounds really fun.
In such a large game, though, to me, it feels like it's a time sink. Other things were calling to me and seemed more intriguing. And I was like, I'd rather spend more time in this, because if I sunk more time into that, I feel like this becomes like a 200-hour game or something. Like, what the hell? And like the ultimate goal, obviously, I'm sure people are going to figure out better ways. Like, I was able to like build a ton of awesome mods and make god tier weapons and gear and stuff. But like, I'm finding legendary gold weapons and gear that are awesome to me already, and I'm like, I don't really need this stuff. And like, I only made a few mods. I'm like, I'd like to have this, I'd like to have that. There's also like a research system in the game, so you those crafting tables we talked about, you're kind of locked out from certain things unless you increase your like level on them, and you do that through like this research terminal, and you need resources to contribute to that. I got everything like almost to like level 2, I feel like, and I was pretty good with that. I didn't feel like I needed to go any further with that. So that is how these systems kind of play into each other. Mm-hmm. But I feel like you get by just fine without it. And it just didn't loop into anything immediately very meaningful to me that was paying off in like the story or immediate progression. So that's one area for me that like it just didn't feel like worth the investment. I'm not gonna say it's bad, it just wasn't worth the time investment for me. But the biggest disappointment just comes like anything to do with like space exploration and ship combat and ship management. Like you can assign crew members too, but it felt mostly meaningless. Like what is this really doing? Like I'm not seeing any real benefit other than they're on my ship so I can interact with them if I want to like develop our relationships a little bit more. And also I had multiple ships. I still have not figured out how to like send out multiple ships. If there's a way to do that. You can assign your home ship. You can assign your home ship, which is the one you will pilot. But every time I go to crew and try, like I have the max. There's a piloting skill that like you need to level it up to pilot certain class of ships. I maxed it out, and like I might need to take another look at that skill tree. There might be another perk that's like a commander perk that says you can now command multiple starships. But as far as where I'm at right now, I still have not been able to like send out. Like I was like, I'm gonna send out my other ships on like recon missions or just to other planets, and like haven't had any of that yet. So even if it is a perk, I wish it was made a little bit easier and would have factored in a little bit more, like being a captain of a fleet or something. Like, sounds like a sick goal to aspire to, and it obviously it could still be possible. I just haven't encountered it yet, but just ship combat and like ship exploration is so underwhelming this game, and obviously maybe like that wasn't communicated well in advance, but in a space game, I don't care if you're calling it a space game. Like I need that level of I need that, and
that's a fair ask.
We gotta get Damiani on Everspace too.
Yeah. Oh no,
that's a fair
I don't know about that.
Damiani, so you spent like 60 hours with this game. How do you feel about the game overall? Are you enjoying yourself?
All together, yeah.
Like there are things like the Free Ranger stuff. Absolutely enjoyed.
So something like the story quest lines.
Some of the story quest lines I absolutely enjoy. Like the best things were the Free Ranger quest line was amazing. Some of the random things I came across, the 3 best random things I came across, the Mantis quest line I told you about.
That's really cool.
Boarding a space station. That was dude. I was expecting some crazy shit to happen. Nothing ended up happening, but that was still good because it was I went to the space station that was sending out a distress signal. Get there. It's all like torn apart and no one's there. And it's like got eerie music. I'm like, dude, is there a xenomorph about to freaking pop out? Like, what's going on? Is this like Wrath of Khan? We're gonna find bodies hanging in the ceiling? Dude, I was like combing every inch, like nervous, like what's going on here? And I had like no idea. And then like a spaceship that gave me like like an email scam essentially of like, hi, we're selling you ship insurance. It looks like your ship insurance has expired. Would you like to expire? And it's like you like be like threatening them and they're like, oh, like scare them away. I'm like, yeah, get out of here, bud. Like, don't scam me. But like boarding a random like ship that calls for distress, like it could be a trap. It could be legit. Like there was one where there's like a school bus, essentially a space school bus of like students, and I'm like, you're like suspicious first, but then you hear all these kids talking and it's like, oh, I feel bad for them, and like they've run out of fuel, like they need help and stuff, and like you're talking to them, you're being nice. At the end it's like, all right, can you give us fuel? I'm like, oh, I don't have any fuel. And they're like, oh, thanks anyway. And I'm like, wait, do I just leave them there? Like they're like marooned in space. Like, wait, what? I was like, I can't call for help. So like there's funny consequences sometimes. Like just those goofy moments sometimes are just like entertaining in themselves. It's like, all right, well that's real life. It's like you can be nice to these people as you want, but if you don't have like the thing to help them, it's like, well, I can't help you, sorry, bye. But just as many times, like I really like that stuff, but like there's just some really infuriating parts of this game. Besides all the bugs and stuff, there's like some of this game's writing is just not good at all. There are just like leaps of logic where a character will be giving off like this, like you have these like personality traits and they will like, it mostly happens with not the core characters, but with NPCs for quest lines where like their tone will just change drastically depending on like an answer. It's like, wait, what? This clearly was I said the answer that felt like you wanted to hear. Now like you're acting like this, and there's just moments like that where people just like don't behave how you'd expect them to behave, and there's no real rhyme or reason to it, and it like immersion breaking stuff like that. The last thing I'll finish on to like highlight that point of both like weird ass dialogue, bugginess, is I was on New Atlantis walking back to my ship to start a new mission. Didn't want to fast travel. I was like, I'm gonna take my time, and there's a UC security guard walking by me. And it sounded like he had a quest to drop. He's like, was saying, like, you can pick up on lines of dialogue. It's like, that clearly sounds like a quest. Turn to talk to him, and dead face at me goes, holy shit! And I'm like, what? And so I'm like, okay, what's going on? And I talk to him, he goes, enjoy your day, citizen. I'm like, wait, what? And I walked away, and I start walking away, he goes, you cannot expect me to deal with that. I'm like, wait, why is he screaming and then calm all of a sudden? I'm like, what's going on here? You're kind of freaking me out, dude. Like,
man, that's funny.
There's like stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like, it's the Bethesda jank. It's definitely there.
Okay, cool. You'll get your review out when you get it done. Just gonna take a while. Massive game, but good work, Damiani. Thanks for sharing.
Nice.
All right, let's move on to Armored Core 6: Fires of Rubicon. I've played a lot of this game. My review is probably out by now. By the time you're hearing this, this game is really good, really damn good, really fun. Excellent controls, man. Controlling those mechs. I know you've played some.
Nice.
You played your couple missions in. Feels damn good. Does it not?
Feels amazing.
Feels amazing. Cruise around these
awesome.
huge mechs.
Yeah.
It's like Every time I play these games, I'm like, man, I wish they'd make a Gundam game too now like this. I just want them to make
They just shut down the most recent Gundam game, didn't they? Yeah.
But I was like, I want From Software to make a Gundam game.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. It deserves that, right?
The guns and the melee and just like combining those, Brad, and how different they feel, like so cool.
Yeah, I mean,
cool.
If you've never played an Armored Core game, Armored Core is like a huge point or part of the game is just your Armored Core that you are customizing and buying parts throughout the game. A huge part of the game because not constantly, but frequently I was adjusting builds. I'd go to the shop and because like all the missions you do, you get cash. It's a lot of parts to buy. Tons of types of arms. Like I'm in New Game Plus and I'm still unlocking new stuff right now.
Nice.
So there's tons of parts to buy, new arms, new legs, new cores, new heads, new like chips to like lock on better and stuff like that. New things for like storage and like energy storage. It kind of is, but I think it eases you in at a good pace. Like I know you were confused about like you were confused mostly about like 2 stats.
Yeah. Just the weight.
Because you only need 2 things pretty much to function your Armored Core.
Yeah.
You need enough energy to power everything, and you need
usually
weight.
I'm used to meters like going up is good, like raise the numbers, but like just for those stats, you wanted it to go down.
Yeah, it depends on what you're.
So I was like,
focusing on.
I got it. Like,
so yeah, like different types, like heavier builds, slow, but they weigh a lot more, much more nimble, and your suit can jump around a lot more, and you have a lot more boost and stuff like that. But you're gonna get shredded a lot faster. Dude, a lot of weapons, machine guns, Gatling guns, bazookas, rocket launchers, grenade launchers,
just some shotgun,
beam sword, like a beam like yo-yo thing you throw out and like shreds guys. Like, there's like a little knife too, like a beam knife you can cut guys up. There's a baton that you can get that's like electric and you can whack stuff and it'll like build up electric charge on these guys. There is so much tools to play with later on, especially that you can just like really
actually
a unique Armored Core.
I can see that like to where like once you sort of like you're saying with New Game Plus or whatever, like once you've sort of like done the cool canon story, it's like, all right, we're gonna just unleash the nonsense on you.
Well, it's not even the canon story because there's multiple endings.
Right.
So
yeah, I don't mean necessarily that, but it's like you're done with the serious part of playing the game.
Sure,
like,
you've cleared it. You've cleared the story or whatever, but but I mean, you get a lot of fun stuff still throughout the normal campaign, and it's like, even that crazy stuff isn't gonna like carry you. That could be really flashy, but it's like sometimes certain situations you're gonna want, depending on your player type. But like some bosses, I was like, yo, I'm making the biggest boy I can possible, tank treads. I'm putting 4 bazookas on this guy, 2 on my shoulder, 2 in each arm, and I'm rolling around because like with bazookas, usually if you shoot them, it like staggers you a little bit. But if you got tank treads and you're rolling around, no stagger. So I'm just like cruising at 100 miles an hour, circling dudes going.
So sick.
And it's really awesome, but like you got ammo, so sometimes you gotta pay attention to that.
Early on, Brad, ammo was like a factor. I was like, oh shit.
Sometimes like some of the heavier powered things have less ammo capacity, so maybe you don't always want the most ammo.
Yeah.
But it's friendly in the sense that there are checkpoints throughout the game.
Very friendly checkpoints.
Very friendly checkpoints.
Very friendly.
Some of the very short missions do not have checkpoints though, but they're short, so it's not that big of a deal if you die. Yeah. But like at these checkpoints, if you die, you can reassemble your mech. You can be like, okay, I'm gonna switch things up.
Those checkpoints are very, very chill.
You can buy stuff here, which kind of is annoying because like I got to bosses at points mid-mission.
Okay, that's
I got
a nice
to like
balance.
a boss.
That's a very nice balance.
So then I had to leave
fully
the mission. Then I'd have to redo it all. It's like kind of annoying, but it doesn't take too long to get through a mission if you know what you're doing the second time around. The missions aren't like super long. They're not like they're not 40 minutes or anything like that. Some missions are like a couple minutes maybe. Some are 30 minutes maybe. Some of them have bosses at them. Some of them don't. So it really fluctuates on that kind of thing. And as you're going out through the campaign, there are missions. You could see a little icon on it where you can like you can like select a certain mission. So like through the story is like a bunch of mercenaries on this planet fighting for this resource.
Love that shit.
Coral. It's on this planet Rubicon. Coral. Everyone wants coral for like this high value resource.
Unobtainium.
So there's like 2 missions available, and you pick one of them for the faction that you want to align with or whatever like that. So like you got a job lined up, you can pick one. If you take that one, other one's off limits.
Whoever's paying the most.
You can see who's paying the most also.
Yep.
So it's like whoever you want to go with, you can go with. You're allowed to make these choices. There was one interesting mission, a very early mission. Early on, we played this on stream, is you're with these mercenary groups, these 2 other guys, and you're going through with them.
So sick.
On New Game Plus, I did this mission, and there was a point, something popped up where I got a call from someone else, and they're like, yo, if you take these guys out, we'll pay you double. So I was able to
Joker shit, dude.
Yes. I was able to choose, and I was like, okay. I was like, this must be a New Game Plus only thing, because I did not see it on my normal playthrough, but I was like, this is a little something extra right there.
That's amazing, dude.
Because I know there's 3 endings, and I don't know if some of them are only available on later playthroughs. I'm not sure exactly how that works. I want to say some of them are maybe one of them.
It's really cool.
But yeah, so the game is divided up into missions, as I said earlier, not level, like most people that play From Software games nowadays are used to big, interconnected things. Nope, not like that. This is very much classic Armored Core. You're going through the missions, and you're just doing that kind of stuff, which is fine with me. Works totally for me. Some of the levels are pretty big. There is...
Brad, it's actually very refreshing, the mission structure, dude.
Yeah.
And like, it's like, oh, maybe I'll just
that's the thing
do
for
a quick
me
mission
with this
or 2.
game. This game is a nice, refreshing...
Yeah.
Like, we love Souls games. We love Elden Ring and stuff like that, but it is cool to see From Software go back to, like, one of their earliest franchises, and that is different. Like, yes, they have learned some things, I'd say, gameplay-wise. Like, controlling your AC just feels better than I ever remember. I'm not a veteran of AC at all, but I played a lot of 2 back in the day. Yeah. But some of the lock-on they were talking to me about feels like some of the devs were talking to me like they've just like improved all that kind of stuff to make it easier for people to get in. Sick. There is no like, I believe some of the other games had like, you can go into debt with money and stuff like that. It was much more hardcore.
What?
There's none of that in this game, but
really
they won't in the future.
Friendly that you can buy something and then sell it back for full price to fully, if you don't like it or whatever. That's really nice. Like there's a lot of friendly things.
Yeah,
just imagine
for how hardcore the game is. How difficult it is.
Yeah, I'm just imagining like you walk into the bank and it's like, yeah, I need to buy 50 missiles. It's like, okay, sir, show us the last 5 pay stubs.
Yeah, and it's like the game is super friendly in the sense of, like Mike was saying, you can resell everything. You can replay missions as much as you want for cash if you want. So if there's like a sick part you want for a mission, you can grind it out if you want. But it is still a challenging game in a lot of ways. I've
seen a lot of people that are getting beating their heads against the wall,
quote unquote filtered,
and then realizing like, oh, if I had just like switched up,
it was so funny.
Parts,
so funny. I talked to Brad about this real quick. The tutorial boss, everyone's freaking out about this chopper, right?
Yep.
And like my fucking play style is always like get in there, get crazy, aggression. And for whatever reason, because of the way the tutorial was presented and because it was a friggin' helicopter against me on the ground, I was like keeping my distance. I was like, trying to pick it off and like get cover, pick it off. And I died like 4 times in a row. I was like, dude, what am I doing wrong here? And then I was like, all right, like, let me just go straight at it. Then I started to charge right at it and like landed on top of it and would like melee the hell out of it and like started blasting it. And then, sure enough, I beat it. Just like changed my approach, and that was it. It was like just a really intense experience of like, wow, changing your style alone. Not to mention like all your weapon and part types. Like just changing your approach only had a dramatic impact on the combat.
Yeah,
on the encounter.
I'm curious here, but I think earlier, Brad, few days ago or a week ago, you mentioned something about like in like your impression, like an earlier impressions thing from like maybe the preview event. I think
probably the preview
you talked about an approach for something as well. So I'm curious about how much that like is there like really like bosses that push against, like you can't really find one build that will just like kind of carry you through even with skill. But also, before you answered that, sorry, this filter boss. Like it's funny you say that, Huber, because like I'm reading so many people like I've tried every approach and like I can't beat it and stuff, and like I beat all the Souls games and stuff, and like this is like, and then like I'll see people point out, did you try this and something about like a plasma cannon or something, like did you use this because like it's like this is what you need to use this on this boss, so like make it way easier. So it's like people like. Do you feel like the question is, you were talking about customization maybe getting a little like overwhelming. Do you think it's maybe too overwhelming initially to try out every different thing? Because like if the strat is really there is something that'll work against us, you got to keep experimenting. Like, is it enough that it's like, man, I've tried so many builds and it's possible to not come across like a good one?
I did brute force my way through some bosses. Like I did not do maybe the best approach, I would say. Like there's a boss with a shield later on that a lot of people are having trouble with. And if you use a certain weapon, it can break their shield a lot more. I did not do that because I didn't realize it at the time. I just brute forced this fucker down. So you can do that, but I mean, it does pay to experiment, you know. Taking a different approach can help a lot. And I think a lot of people are having trouble is because this is a lot of people's first Armored Core game. They're used to maybe Soul-style approaches and stuff like that, you know, just simply being able to easily dodge everything like that. Things are a little different here. You know, you're not a human rolling around. You're a giant, like, 3-story mech cruising around. So it just takes some adjusting, I think, for a lot of people.
Really punished really quickly.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you can in, like, all their games.
Exactly.
I don't think it's, like, at the end of the day, I don't think it was, like, their hardest game at all. Like, I have not run into a Millennia equivalent boss or anything like that. The bosses all around I think are cool. They're not the heights of some of their other bosses like that, but they are cool. You know, they're some sick robots. Like there's like huge construction tile robots, like giant chainsaw arms, and like a forge at the top. That I was like shooting bazooka rounds at it, doing, like a lot of stagger damage.
Would you say? I know you said like the backing out of a mission to change builds, like.
Well, you don't have to back out to change a build. To buy new parts, you do.
Okay. So would you say like any of that maybe like could possibly contribute to some people like being lamenting like having to like experiment more or like pushing back too much?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I feel like a lot of people are so used to From Software games, they find a weapon they like in the game.
Gotcha.
Maybe they use one or two throughout their whole playthrough.
Stick with it.
They stick with it a long time. This game is not like that.
Gotcha.
Because, you know, you're
fair.
not leveling up. You're not doing stuff like that.
That's true.
You're not grinding souls or anything like that. There are things you can get called OST chips to give you passive bonuses, like your healing repair kits heal you for more.
Okay.
Or your kinetic weapon damage goes up by 3%. Some stuff like that, some passive things. There's also some moves you can get from it. Like there's like a one that I think is really cool is you're really fast dash forward. It's like your left stick.
That, dude.
If you push like left stick right before, you can like kick someone. So you can like break someone's stagger or something like that. So, which is really cool against like other Armored Core units you fight in the game because they're fast too. So I was doing that on some of them. Huber, your playstyle of aggression is funny. I like that because I'm pretty much like that too in a lot of ways. But there are definitely some bosses where you can't get as close to them. They're going to kind of dash away from you a lot. So you're going to have to change some things up. There's some really intense bosses like that.
Counter.
No Makiri counter.
That's the first thing I asked him. It's the absolute first question.
Let me ask you this. For bosses, it's kind of a two-part question.
Yes.
Can you like scan things in this game? So no scanning. Okay, that's first part.
Well, you can do like a pulse to kind of see around you, but you can't like scan weakness kind of thing like that.
Okay, so that's good. Is it hard to discern like bosses, like the telegraphs from them, compared to like a human like enemy or monster?
I would say they're pretty well telegraphed. Like you know, they're not a human; they are a machine, but they are still telegraphed. Like when you could see when they're going to do something a lot of times.
And do some of these bosses have like multiple targets? Like you target different parts. Like can you not break an arm? Well,
some of them do.
Or disable like a
you're
weapon?
not like blowing an arm off or something.
Okay,
you're not targeting parts like that.
Yeah, I didn't know if it's like like if you target this part, you can like weaken them, and like now they can't. Their mobility is like shot, so like they can't dash away from.
No, you can't do that. So like the huge construction boss I kind of talked about a little bit, that had the forge on his head. You could like target that part of him, but you can't like target left arm, right arm. You're not doing stuff like that. It's much more just like one spot.
Let me ask you this: in a boss encounter, is there a way to like, for most bosses, is it possible to like keep evading to like watch their patterns long enough? And,
You
like
can
on the
evade
first
a lot.
time? Yeah. Or is there any bosses where it's like you can't just keep evading? Like eventually you're gonna run out of like fuel,
so
fuel
you have
or
like a stamina. It's a
Yeah.
stamina meter essentially.
Yeah.
And some of your builds, you can have better stamina meters and be able to dash more. But it's like you can dodge a lot if you want to figure stuff out. Yeah, if you want to focus on that, you can.
Yeah, just to buy time, because I know there's some Souls bosses like Millennia we talked about, like where it's like very hard to keep doing that. Like their abilities to like close on you and like this arena space. It's like you can do it for so long, but eventually if they do a certain attack pattern, it's like you either need to know how to like be like you have to like know what they're doing to counter it. You can't just observe it, or else you're kind of screwed.
There's definitely like, I mean, of course, when you see attacks for the first time, you're not going to know
Yeah.
what they're going to do like that, but you will pick up on moves. And especially because verticality is such a big part of this game, because you're a mech, you can like fly in the air for quite a bit of time, so some attacks might cover the whole ground or something like that, or go towards the ground, so you got to fly up and stuff like that, or the boss will be in the air maybe.
How does targeting and stuff feel like in the air? Because I know, like, not similar, but as someone who just played Starfield, and like you can jump in the air and like shoot in the air, like that's obviously manual aiming. It can be a little frustrating with no lock on.
There's like a soft lock on kind of thing. It'll kind of target the closest thing, which you can do. That's like a lot of the old Armored Core games was, but there's a hard lock on also if you want.
Okay.
So like, if you're fighting a boss, you can lock onto the boss and keep track of it pretty easily.
Okay, that's cool.
But I mean, like some of these are fast and stuff like that, but
So you said like aiming isn't really generally a problem. Like you're not like whiffing a lot of attacks, like because you're aiming wrong. It's like they're maybe moving or something.
Shooting, so when you're targeted on, like if you're hard locked onto something, you have like a meter or a thing around them indicating they're locked on. But you also have your little crosshair. You can see if they are moving around and something like that, your crosshair is going to be following them. So you can tell a lot of times if your shots are going to hit or not. So if they're moving sideways and you're shooting like a big bazooka, they're going to dodge it or stuff like that. Of course,
yeah.
But like a lot of times, like a lot of the game, I use like a Gatling gun because there's a stagger meter also in the game, which is super important.
Okay,
you want to build this up because you do stagger damage. They get put in a vulnerable state. They shut down for a brief amount of time, and you do a lot more damage to them. So I was using a Gatling gun just because I could keep pressure on pretty easily for stuff like that.
And there's no, obviously, like stagger, you like they're more vulnerable, then they take more damage under stagger.
Yes.
There's no like behind the back crit things like equivalent to this game either,
You're not doing
right?
backstabs and stuff like that.
No like sneak attack type stuff where you can like
nothing like that.
Gotcha.
Nothing.
Cool.
Nothing like that.
Figured. That's still cool to hear.
But yeah, you have 3 repair kits just to health or like you push up on the D-pad, instant heal. Whoop.
Oh, you can't get out of your mech or
No.
anything like that.
No.
Okay.
In fact, you don't see any humans in the game at all.
Oh, okay, cool.
No
I didn't know if
human
like you can
faces,
get out
no
and like
nothing.
steal a mech or okay.
No, nothing like that. That kind of leads into the story. The story is all told through like voice comms, like everyone talking over a radio, and like you don't see any pilots' faces. You see like all these pilots have cool emblems though, and they have like code names like V2 Snail, something for Rusty and stuff like that. And they have, like their own. Yeah, they have their own like cool emblems, and I think it works well for the type of game and like the setting of the game and the themes around the game. I think it works well. I do like the story, and I think it goes to cool places, but I do agree with some people, and I've seen people talk about this, that it maybe not every single beat is super interesting for a lot of people, because a lot of it is like, hey, 621 got a job for you. Here's the job kind of thing like this. And I think people are looking for a much more like larger scope narrative in a lot of ways. But when this is very much a story about mercenaries and stuff,
fucking love
which
that,
I
Brad.
do like a lot, and I
Yes.
appreciate that it is
my
different like that.
wheelhouse.
But I think if people are looking for this grand scope of like, your Final Fantasy 16 kind of story, or maybe even something more along the lines of Elden Ring and stuff like that, it's not necessarily that. Because you're not going around talking to NPCs or anything like that. You're not optional dialogue walking around. There is like optional lore from like doing missions, and there's also the arena mode, which along with your main missions, there's this arena mode where you fight a different Armored Core one-on-one. It's a very specific one. And when you look at it, you could see like lore about that very specific person or unit or everything like that.
Nice.
And there's quite a few of them. What I like about this is once you beat them is you get the layout for their suits. So you can like equip their suit if you want. As long as you have the parts, you can just quickly do their build. If you fight them, you're like, oh, I like the way they look. I like their weapon set. You can just equip that right away.
Nice.
And also you get OST chips from doing those, which you used for the upgrades. Yeah. So you want to do these, I would say.
Okay. Is there any real, like, exploration in this game?
Some of the levels are kind of big. There's, like, optional parts to find every now and then. There's some cool parts. There's, like, the Moonlight Sword is in this game.
Ooh.
And you can find that from other stuff like that, which is optional. So you might want to keep an eye out everywhere. But it's not nearly to the level what you think from, like, some of their past games. You know, you're not finding Ash Lake or something like that.
Yeah, so it's like, my question to you, like, you don't find anything like that. You don't find, like, optional bosses in the middle of a mission that, like...
There's some, like, optional kind of guys, but they're not, like, super bosses. Not like the real bosses.
Gotcha. They don't come across anything like that.
Yeah.
All right. How about, like, the soundtrack for this? Because I imagine it has a different vibe. Than
it's very much different. You know, very mechanical, like, bleak electronic sounding. Like, it's really cool. I do like the soundtrack. Usually in a fight, so I'm just like so focused on like what's happening on like the bosses, but throughout this game, there's some cool tracks that I do like.
All right, yeah, because the only other game I remember with like that comes to mind with like mech combat, it's like Zone of the Enders.
Yeah.
Those two games have like fantastic soundtracks. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I think the
trailer music was pretty cool too.
Yeah,
I
it's a lot of stuff like that. There is also multiplayer in the game. There's
how's that?
1v1 and 3v3. It's okay. I think it's fine. I did both of them obviously for a little bit. I kind of like 3v3 a little more.
Okay.
Just because there's a little more chaos and it's not something you get like that in the real game. You get a lot of one-on-one fights in the real game. Like obviously one-on-one's probably like the real shit if you want to get really sweaty with it. But 3v3 was kind of like a little chaotic thing that I liked.
Do like mech comps or anything like? Do you think that plays into 3v3 at all? Like,
kind of, yeah. I mean, anyone could build whatever they want, so it's just like...
Okay, there's not like a build that's like more tanky or something.
I mean, you can do builds that are more tanky if you want, but you're going to... Depending on what you want to increase, you're going to give something up in return, pretty much.
So it's pretty much just like straight up just coordination with the other three team members and raw skill.
If you want,
like, it's not like, oh, we didn't have like a healer in our team or something like that.
There's no heal. You can't heal at all, actually, in multiplayer like that. It's just your health.
Can you emote? Can you like mech bow and stuff?
No emotes like that, no. There's like 9 maps too, which is pretty decent, I think.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. You could set up private lobbies if you want to play with your friends.
The maps got like a good verticality or like obstacles.
Some of them have obstacles. Some of them are just more like open kind of things like that. But yeah, because they're like maps from the single player.
Okay, cool.
So they're all locations from that. So yeah, it's cool. But like I said, lobbies if you want. You can have like up to 9 people in a room, and you could have like losers rotate out or something like that. And you can spectate while people are fighting if you want to watch them. So
nice.
It's fine. It's cool. I'm glad it's there. It's Armored Core. It always has a multiplayer, so yeah, it's to be expected.
Yeah. I guess like the only thing else I would want to know is more like hypotheticals. Like, where would you like to see them to go in the future with this? Since this seems to be like a big revival for Armored Core. And it seems like, for the most part, it's been pretty successful, but there's something you'd like to see them do maybe differently or try that they haven't tried if they did a follow-up?
I kind of want more... There's some, but I kind of want more big set pieces. Like some of the early missions you guys have seen is like that sand crawler thing.
Yeah.
You take there's like a couple big things in the game.
They restricted what we could see.
Exactly. For the review, like I could not show... Everything I showed was very early in the game because I had to show it. But there's some like bigger... There's like some parts later on where there's like big battleships and you like go on top of it and shoot where like everyone is at the bridge and bring it down, which is cool. But I just want like more crazy set pieces because this game's on PS4 and Xbox One. It's a last gen game also, and you can tell, but it still runs. It runs really good actually on PS5 where I played it. Mike, you said people were saying the PC version's good.
Yeah, I saw that today. Digital Foundry was like very impressed with the PC port.
Nice.
Yes.
So, From Software, not always the best technical front from their games when they come out, but it's been really solid. Like, I had no crashes. Mm-hmm. The frame dips I saw were only like at a few parts and they didn't go that far down. Like, it never happened to me in combat where I really needed those frames, so it's been an impressive game all around.
Nice.
It's definitely not going to be for everyone. People who came in like the Souls games, it may be an adjustment for them, but I hope people give it a chance because it is an excellent video game.
Cool.
Sick.
All right. We'll take a question about it. This is from My Latin Lover. Hey, allies. Armored Core 6 is here. I've played other Armored Cores before, and I feel like 6 nails the feel, speed, and difficulty of the others, but misses in one department, The soundtrack. Armored Core 4 for Answer had a crazy good soundtrack. Do you feel like the soundtrack is lacking in 6, or am I unfairly judging based on the past games? I have not played 4 for Answer, so I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have not played many Armored Core games. I've played 1, I've played 2, and like a bit of maybe 5 a little bit, but like I've not gotten in depth with them for a very long time, so it's hard for me to compare. But I do like the soundtrack in this game. I do think it's cool. You know, it's not Final Fantasy 16 soundtrack to me. You know what I mean? Where I'm just like blown away by it, but it is solid for what the game is, I think. Because, you know, it's a game about giant robot mechs fighting, so I think it's appropriate. All right, it's time for Sort It Out! This segment, we just talk about something that's bugging us in the game industry, game, company, anything like that. Do you dudes have anyone this week?
I got one this week.
Oh, Blood's ready to go.
Wow,
Let's go, Bloodworth.
Freaking $100 early access nonsense.
Oh my God.
You know,
Blood, yeah.
like, we're talking about Starfield, and like, yeah, we have our gripes or whatever, but there's a ton of people looking forward to this game, ready to play this game. You know, maybe they've got Game Pass for this game or whatever, and they're going to have to spend the next week dodging spoilers. And everyone like us who like, you know, are like having to make videos and stuff about it, we're sort of stuck in the middle of this thing too, to where it's like we have this choice. It's like, okay, well, do we put our videos out now? If we don't put our videos out now, then we're just going to get passed by everyone that does put their videos out now. And it's just this weird nonsense situation.
Yeah.
And like day one Game Pass is a week after everyone started playing it.
Yeah, I think for Game Pass, if you have Game Pass, you can pay like $30.
Yeah, you can buy
pay the extra fee, but yeah, it's like a week early, you said, or something, like 5 days?
It's because you get it on like the afternoon, evening of the 31st, right? Versus the 5th, you know.
Yeah,
like the
that's a
official
long
day
time.
is the 6th, but you know, East Coast or West Coast, we get it a couple hours earlier.
They did this with Forza, also, I remember.
Yeah.
Horizon. I don't know if it was this long of time, though. Like, Diablo did this when it came out, which was like 3 days, I think. And, like, I think it's super annoying, but I understand people spending the money to play. Because, like, people take off work for this game. They're like, whatever, I'll just spend $30 to play 5 days early. It's like, I understand why companies do this because it works, and I frankly think we're going to see a lot more of this as things continue on. But it's a lot of cash.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel bad for people that can't afford it.
And then, you know, back to like our side of things, just like the planning of stuff, right? When you look at your release calendar and it's like, okay, this is out on the 6th. You get it on the 14th. You got plenty of time, and then it's like, oh no, there's a 5-day early access period, so you're gonna have to have it done. That much sooner.
Yeah, that makes it annoying for us more, but like who cares? Like about us. Like
Right.
Yeah.
It just, but yeah,
I understand
just
that.
keeping track of
Blood.
these things. It's like, oh no, the game's really out earlier than they said it would be. Yeah.
Get ready for GTA 6 to do this. $120. You're gonna have to pay $50 early. Probably. With them? Get ready, dude.
But even the like, only 30 on Game Pass, like you're paying $10, $11 a month for Game Pass, or you might be paying that just for this game.
Something like GTA 6, like really, if they do that with that, dude, I feel like so many people will do that it'll essentially make it $100 video game.
Yeah, of course it will.
Yeah, because just like everyone will do that.
Yeah, I mean, they want to do that.
So crazy.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Get ready. Do you guys have one? Damiani, Huber, anything?
There's something I shouted recently. I said, Brad, remember that not you weren't there, I think. Right?
Okay.
But I was like, I told chat, tell Brad to remember this might sort it out for this week. Did I already talk about the online tutorials for multiplayer games or whatever?
No.
Was that during the 13 playthrough?
No, yeah. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah. Every single... I'm pretty sure you were there for this one, but I'll say it again. For any online competitive game, there needs to be tutorial matches with bots.
Yeah. So you can practice against bots.
Yeah, that needs to be standard. Absolutely needs to be standard in every.
Was this
online.
for when you did Texas Chainsaw?
I think so. Yes, that was it. It was during Texas Chainsaw.
I came late during that.
There needs to, that was it. Sorted out. Every online PvP competitive focused game needs an online bot tutorial mode where you can just go in and see how you do everything with like bots, and then like it just turns you loose into a bot mission, and you got to play at least one full mission against bots before you can be turned loose on the the general public, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool to have that option there because you can figure out how stuff works.
Yeah,
and people feel so much pressure in online games of just they want to be able to play right. So
well, especially something like that where like different characters and on different teams or whatever like have these very different abilities, and so like what can I do? Like,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, what about you?
I don't really got one.
Nothing? That's
no,
fine.
Just too many games.
Yeah,
sort it out.
Mine is just let me breathe.
Yeah, let me breathe.
Me live for a second.
I'm drowning and suffocating.
Yeah,
there's just too much.
It feels like the most ever.
The
most amount of excellent video games that are coming out
ever
that I can't skip.
Yep.
It's like Baldur's Gate. I'm like 20 something hours. I'm still in Act 1 in that game. And it's like that game's gonna be 100 hours or something, like 200 hours.
Right.
It's like I have to play that game though because it's so damn good.
It's too much.
Sweating. All right, this is from Chris Irely. Sorted out. Oh, this is for you, Huber. Sorted out game developers. We all know the battery life on the PlayStation 4 controllers were not great, and while the PS5 controller lasts longer than the previous counterpart, it's still not the best.
It gets worse as time goes on.
So because of that, I tend to play with a controller until it completely dies to max my playtime and lessen the amount of times I switch between a charged controller. The only problem with that is that several games I've played, including recently Final Fantasy 16, when a controller disconnects, the game doesn't pause and wait for me to reconnect a new controller. So I'd be in the middle of an intense boss battle. My controller would disconnect, and then I would scramble to get my charged controller and reconnect before I would die. Thankfully, the majority of my games I've played doesn't have that problem, but the amount of the games that don't pause when a controller disconnects is a bit higher than I would like. So sort it out, game developers, and make the game pauses on controller disconnect standard. Thank you.
I feel like Xbox does that on a system level.
Oh, really?
I could be wrong, but like
that's interesting.
Like usually, you get the full screen pop up. It's like you need a controller to play this game.
Yeah. So many times during Starfield when I got up and left the game paused. And then come back, the controller disconnected. It went to a screen saying this game requires a controller. So even if I was in the middle of the game, it brings you to an interrupt screen. So, but funny, on the Xbox Series S I was playing on, it did not do that.
Oh,
but on the X it did. So I think it's an option you can turn off or something. Or maybe the X and S have something different. Yeah.
Oh yeah, or it has. Well, yeah, that should be something that would be the same. Yeah, so maybe you're right. Maybe it's just in their settings for the one that you borrowed. I had less of an issue just because my setup, it's not that big of a deal for me to be plugged in or to just if I start, seeing that the battery getting low or whatever, have a second controller just on hand.
Sure. But, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
All right, it's time for Keep It Up, the exact opposite. Something we're pleased with. Who's doing it right now?
Game devs, a lot of good games.
Yeah, 2023, insane year. Keep it up, I guess.
Keep it up.
With those games. Good Lord.
It's my sorted out and my keep it up.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, for sure. Definitely feels like that. Baldur's Gate 3, incredible game. Keep it up, but it's so long right now.
Yeah.
I'm not mad that it's long. It's just I'm very busy.
Yeah.
We can't get in depth about it on this frame trap. We'll save it for next frame trap, but this is a good point just to give a shout out to it. Keep it up. 10th anniversary Final Fantasy 14. Celebrating their 10th anniversary.
Yeah, that's fun.
Going for 10 more years. Talked with Brad probably next episode. Want to do a go down memory lane of 10 years of Final Fantasy 14, but
you know what else has
kind of stacked this episode.
You know what else has 10-year anniversary this year?
What else?
GTA 5.
There you go. GTA
Wow.
10 years. GTA 5.
10 years of GTA 5.
Yeah.
Insanity.
Did you see this freaking giant box set of the whole Xenoblade
I saw
trilogy
that. Yeah,
soundtrack?
I saw you comment on that on something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looked insane.
Yeah, keep that up.
Keep that up.
Yeah, keep putting out these soundtracks, man.
Yeah,
keep
they
that
made-
stuff available.
They made them available digitally too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
I saw that. You could buy them digitally now.
Does Nintendo usually do that?
No. They.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
on
feel like there's
Spotify,
something like Monolith is forcing, like, because
Oh,
every
yeah.
single time they
Yeah.
put stuff out. Yeah.
Or
that kind of
or it's
power,
just
yeah.
up to the teams, and Monolith's like, yeah, heck yeah, we embrace this, and other teams are like, nah, maybe not. It's like, okay,
Right.
fine.
Because I feel
dude.
like, I feel like Xenoblade gets that treatment, and Zelda gets that treatment, but then there's not a whole lot else than Nintendo's first-party stuff that, like, you'll get, like, a real
Yeah,
soundtrack
not
for.
anymore at all. Yeah, I mean, back in the day, a little bit, but not so much anymore. Yeah, I wonder how long it'll take for the Tears of the Kingdom soundtrack to become available. Because I feel like Breath of the Wild was about like maybe 6 to 12 months after it came out that we got that soundtrack. So
Yeah, and that's I'll be interested to see how they do like the temple themes, because I've really like have been paying attention in the temples, and like how they do the dynamic music in those is really cool. So it'll be interesting to see how they escalate that in a
Probably-
edited form.
well, they'll probably literally do whatever temple music, like calm temple music, like
Yeah, that's like
it'll
what
be
they
its
did with
own
Terry
track.
Town.
Yeah, and then they'll like elevate it. Like there's so many soundtracks that have like those variations on the track that are dynamic in real time. But then like on the soundtrack, there's the one version of it play out for like a minute, 90 seconds or 2 minutes, however long it is they want to loop, and they'll do all the variations. So like you'll never get how it would sound dynamically in game, but you get like the raw, like uncut version of like each variation of it, which is kind of like nice, because now you have like a reason to play it in game, to hear it in game, but also like you just want those to hear how it was. If you could simulate being in that state for longer, it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do want more Nintendo soundtracks. Get on that, Nintendo. They have such good music, man.
Yeah, I don't think like did Odyssey actually ever get an official soundtrack? I don't
I
think
Probably
I
not,
don't
dude.
think
That
so.
soundtrack's sick,
Yeah.
too. It's upsetting.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Paper Mario, Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of good music on those.
Yeah. Danny Batowski wrote in, keep it up. Game devs have been doing a good job of remastering old games such as Metroid Prime, Mario RPG, Resident Evil 2 through 4, etc., and making these games more accessible and better than ever.
2 through 4.
Well,
2, 3, and 4.
I think because those are remakes, those aren't remasters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But,
that's definitely a different situation.
But yeah, I see what you're saying, though.
Yeah, but shout out again to my buddy Chris Kohler, who just put out the Making of Karateka.
Yeah.
That's a whole different level of things. It's like,
Yeah.
it's an interactive documentary where like
Yeah, that's
the
insane.
games are there, but they're sort of like almost a side
Secondary.
dish to the whole
Yeah.
package. Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. But yeah, big shout out.
know what we need?
What?
We need a Virtual Boy Classic.
I wish, Damiani.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I was hoping for it to come out on 3DS, because
That would've been
you would have
great,
had the
too.
stereoscopic vision. Yeah.
Yeah, they blew it, Blood. You're right.
blew it.
That was the time.
Damn.
That was the time. Damn,
Stop.
dude. Now I'm pissed. Why? All right, we got some shout outs. As always, every episode, we give some shout outs to some of our most generous patrons over there at the Platinum Producer tier. This episode, we got Jabbawabs, Elthanas, and Greg, TheDarkKnight Kettering.
And Garrett Hulfish.
And Garrett Hulfish,
Just
we're
dropped
counting
in
that
there.
now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Garrett Hulfish, you're
already
also
paid.
on there.
You're in.
All right, Garrett, welcome aboard. You're in. As Don would say, welcome to the party, pal. Shout out. All right, Michael Huber.
Yo.
You've been playing Immortals of Avium.
Yeah.
You were hyped on this game.
Yeah.
It's finally out.
Yeah.
Kind of getting mixed reaction right now
Yeah.
all around the board.
I mean, it's kind of getting no react. Like, people
Well,
are just ignoring it because of the wave of content.
I was gonna say, I
yeah.
think it came out at a bad time. Unfortunately,
It's really
I don't know if there is a
depressing.
good time anymore.
It's
Like, I just don't
super-
know if there is.
It's
But it's getting overshadowed for sure.
it really scares me, just like the way the industry is going, where it's like no one has time for anything but the best.
Right.
You know,
Understandable.
Anything. So it's like, dude, are people gonna take less risks? Like,
'Cause
I'm worried about if this game fails.
When
and-
did this game come out? Do you remember the day? Do you know what day it was
It
exactly?
was like last week.
Yeah,
was it
like a week
Was
ago.
it the day Armored Core came out or something? Or like the day before?
I think it was a little before.
I'll look up.
Yeah.
Well, what got? But anyway.
Baldur's Gate was going on.
Baldur's
dude,
Gate was popping
like-
off still, yeah.
Yeah.
So it
Endless game right there.
yeah, it just concerns me. It's like
Because
when
like,
a movie.
that's where
it's
I'm
like,
at with it. Like, I
Yeah.
want to play. This game looks fun.
Yeah.
But it's like, I have to play other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You're not gonna. No offense to this game, I really like this game, dude.
Yeah.
I love it. It's got problems. I'm critical of it. You know.
Yeah.
You'll see it in the review. I'm critical of this game, but like non-review cap, just little old gamer me, like I love this shit, dude.
22nd.
So it was like 3 days before Armored Core.
Yeah. So Immortals of Aveum, the genesis of this game is a Call of Duty dev was doing concept art for, one of the Advanced Warfares or Infinite Warfares, whatever. And they imagined instead of helicopters, it was dragons. Instead of guns, it was magic. Thus, Immortals of Aveum was born. It is Call of Duty with magic. And it's got some Hollywood stars in there. Kid from, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Never Have I Ever. Shout out, great show. It's got Gina Torres from, Destiny and Firefly. So there's some, big actors in there, and then just a lot of, people I don't recognize. But the basic premise is there's this big crater kind of in the middle of the planet, and all these, magical ley lines come out of it, and there's this big statue of this thing, and nobody knows really the origin, or there's a lot of mystery behind it, and there's a ton of lore and a ton of just nonsense words, you're just what? So I can totally understand people just ridiculing this story. I give stories the benefit of the doubt every freaking time, so
well, it also has that thing that people are kind of down on right now, where you're in this fantasy world, but people are very contemporary the way they talk.
Yeah,
so you mix all those crazy words in with dude just being hey, yep. Bro, what's up?
Totally, totally, Woodworth. Yeah, and it can be a little confusing to follow because there are so many factions and so many made up words, and it's not
Final Fantasy 13 style.
Kinda, yeah. I'm just what are we talking about? Who are they? Who are they? Some optional collectibles that, flesh out other things, and there's a lore book. Obviously, it's not 16 levels of detail, but they do help you. So if you get confused, you can really comb through that stuff. Cool. So the story, again, last little bit about that is you play as Jack, and he's a triarch, which means he can control all three colors of magic. There's red, blue, and green magic.
So he's the Avatar?
Basically,
He is the Jack of all trades.
He is the Jack of all trades, Bloodworth. I'm going to put that in the review, Bloodworth. Excellent. Get ready for that. So he can control them all. And, he is kind of like Aladdin, street rat style.
Okay.
So he kind of...
rises
up, gets thrust into this position, and becomes, the Immortals is the Spec Ops group.
Okay.
So he's an immortal. It's not a literal immortal, but
that's their
their reputation precedes them, so people actually do think they are.
Dude, Immortals will put their name to the test.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those 300?
Yep.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Sick.
That's excited. Popped in my head.
That's going in the review, dummy.
So hold on. Tell me about the story. Tell me about Jack. Are you attached to Jack?
I'm attached to the actor already, so I have that kind of bias going in. We all have our biases, and I liked Never Have I Ever, and I liked his little part in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So immediately I'm connected with him, and he's pretty good. I'd say it's really inconsistent, dude. There's parts where you can wander around and talk to people, and you get not dialogue choices, but there's things you can you can either just avoid all this dialogue stuff, or you can comb through it all, and they're giving you lore and stuff, and that stuff is just a little inconsistent with the delivery and the impact of it all. And then even in main story beats, something big will happen, Brad. Something cataclysmic, some massive event, and just the way it's presented in the game is say a huge thing happens and people are dying, but then it'll be the effects on screen are kind of low budget, and then just the audio and delivery will be we got to get out of here as all hell is breaking. It's just there's just this inconsistency in the moments, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas then you'll have little small intimate moments where you're like talking about, you know, the situation and you know, it'll be really passionate and like, oh my God, I feel your struggle there, you know, but then there's other moments that don't hit as hard. So it's just a little inconsistent. And there's a pretty good mystery going on, and like yeah, there's an enough of a mystery for me to have been engaged in wanting to see what happens.
As the jack of all trades, he
Yeah.
uses 3 types of magic. Tell me about this magic types, like combat, like also using this in combat. What's
Combat's
all that like?
awesome, dude. This game is just cool. Like, this is a cool game. I just want to keep saying that, you know, because it's drowning. It's having a tough time. You know, there are vastly superior games to Immortals of Aveum that are failing because there is just so much to play and so much competition out there right now. But I really like combat. You have your blue magic, which is more of like a DMR type, like pew, 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 pew.
Okay.
You have your red, which is like shotgun blast. You have your green, which is like the needler in Halo, like homing shit. You can also get varieties of those. There's a red one that you can equip, you can swap it out, and it's more of like a grenade launcher type.
Okay.
There's a blue one, so instead of like a pew, pew, pew DMR, it's a 2-shot javelin.
Oh.
So it's like a boom for like heavy damage, but you only get 2 shots. You got to reload. You have unlimited ammo. You just reload or whatever. There's a green one instead of the needle style. It's like slower, bigger homing ones.
Interesting. Okay.
So you can like play with that, swap that out. There's crafting. None of that feels rewarding. The menus are like, you know, it's trying to be
what
like,
are you crafting?
you're like crafting
Like a bracelet or something?
Yeah, you have like a bracer. You have little 2 rings that'll give you different perks and stat bonuses.
Yeah, it just immediately doesn't feel like, why would I want to? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't even really waste my time with this stuff. I'm playing on normal. Shout out, though, difficulty trophy.
Oh,
Those things
that's
have
nice.
those, you know, everyone's like, oh, we want everybody to get the platinum. I say,
Earn it.
earn it. Like,
So you're saying?
yeah,
I
like,
agree, earn
like
it.
if there's a harder difficulty, like, that should be
As
a
long as the
trophy.
difficulty is not locked behind the first playthrough, sure.
It's not locked. You can pick
Yeah.
hard. I'm
Okay.
playing on normal though. Review, lot going
Yeah, yeah.
on. Want to just get through. And even on normal, it's the normal is recommended. It says.
Yeah.
And it'll like push your limit, and it gets pretty hard. You know.
Okay.
I've died a few times, but like it pushes back. There's some intense encounters.
Yeah. So in these encounters,
Yeah.
like, is movement a big part of it?
Movement is cool, dude. You have your freaking like lash thing that you can like grab enemies and pull them to
like a
you.
Bulletstorm thing?
Yeah, Bulletstorm vibes. You have a dash. You can dash around. It's on cooldown, so it's kind of slow, but you can dash. You can put up a shield that makes you walk, but it, you know, has a shield or whatever. And then if that explodes, you know, you can like, you're getting experience, you're leveling up. Each magic tier has a skill tree, so you can like kind of invest in all of them or really pump up one. What's really cool is even if you pump up one, there are some skills that'll be like, to get this skill, you need to have like enough points in red, but you
Right.
can still go really all in on like one or kind of balance it out. So the leveling up is actually really, really fun. I like that. Yeah, the crafting and stuff, not so much. And it's just like kind of messy looking, you know, it's trying to be like a little clean and Destiny looking style, but it's just like, I don't know, it's just a little messy to me. And it's like, I don't even want to bother with this, like, because I'm fine, you know, just in the game, the difficulty wise. It's like, dude, I'll just find stuff, whatever. But then a combat encounter traditionally is, you know, enemies will flood in and someone, you know, say they bring up a blue shield in front of them, blue will take that out. There's like regenerator medic characters that have like their own green shield, swap to green, blow that up. So you're like swapping your magic powers a lot. You know, big beasts will come and they're like red eyes. So it's like, okay, go to red, they're charging me, blast them.
Yeah, I'm curious of like how much do you see of like other creatures
Quite
versus
a-
just like other like just general like enemies or battle mages
Yeah.
or whatever.
There's a lot, like
Because I remember at Summer Game Fest there was
Yeah.
that whole like it was more of a set piece kind of thing, but like
Yeah.
the dragon that flies down
Totally.
and like grabs you and drops you from the top the sky or whatever.
Yeah, there's an okay amount of variety. obviously there's like never enough. You can always use more enemy variety, but there is enough that it keeps it fresh. Different types of those battle mage soldier types. A lot of like mini bosses that'll come in, big brutes that like will just slam down on you, and like some good wildlife too. So it's an okay amount. But then there's also so you have like your 3 gauntlets, you have your whip thing, you have a thing you could throw it on him and it kind of like slows him down a little bit. Then you have like your super magic powers, which dude, these are freaking awesome. You have your mana bar, so you have your health and mana bar. You have unlimited ammo, but not unlimited health or mana, obviously. You have health crystals that you pop to regain health. You can hold like 3 or 4 of those. And then you have your mana level, and then you have to pop a mana crystal to replenish that. But the mana abilities are like, one of them is like a ground, you like do this and like rocks come out of the ground.
Titan.
There's one that's like homing missiles will come out. So that stuff is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that like, you like do this big red thing and like send out this like shockwave blast that like takes people out.
Nice.
So that stuff is really fun. And then you can like level up your, you can find like mana capacity upgrades.
Oh, okay.
And
Cool.
There's like chests scattered around, optional puzzles and.
So how's like this? Is it stage based and like there's optional paths to explore? How does it work?
So you'll like get a mission or whatever. There's kind of like a hub area,
Okay.
and in between missions, you can freely go anywhere. So like, I'll get a thing that'll be like, oh, maybe now I can go back to a place Metroidvania style, dude.
Okay.
It'll be like, oh, now I can go back and access this part,
Okay.
or there's a big thing about the corruption. There's a lot of corruption in the world, and I got a thing later on where it's like, okay, the corruption was blocking the path, so I'm gonna go, remove that. So optional areas and stuff, and
How are some of like the single player missions? Like they've shown off like this giant like statue thing walking around. Have they been cool?
pretty cool missions, like some big set pieces, I don't want to get like too into that, but yeah, like I'd say the pace of it is good, Brad, because it'll be like, here's a really big mission and then some like smaller ones. They pair you up with characters, like, you have your companion characters. That stuff actually plays really well into the missions. I really liked like being on a mission with, this person versus this person, or like, this person has their own kind of feelings about everything that's going on, and we're kind of doing the mission differently. So I really like that. Like story wise, that's kind of like because the story is like it's fine, and like I'm very easygoing on that stuff. Again, I can really see people being turned off by the story, not like, oh, it's so bad, but just like, dude, I don't care,
Not invested.
but like going on those story missions with some people, and like that's the fun. That was the fun stuff for me with story wise and the missions as well. Yeah.
Joseph Caruso wrote in, I believe Immortals of Aveum is the first video game released besides Fortnite to use both the main graphical features of Unreal Engine 5, Nanite for high texture detail, and Lumen, how do you say Lumen? For real-time lighting. How visually impressive is the game? I understand that the console version uses FSR2 to upscale the images from 720p to 4K, leading to plenty of visual artifacts. But I'm curious how it looks on PC if anyone has played that version with better upscaling methodology and a modern GPU. I will be playing this on PC when I play it.
Yeah.
So
I've just been playing PS5 version.
Yeah. Okay.
For a AAA game, it looks damn good. I mean, it looks really good. It's not like freaking Modern Warfare levels. Those games, obviously this is way less budget, but I really like the visuals. It's really colorful. When magic is popping off, it looks so sick. Like so much shit is just like exploding, and it's so colorful.
So many effects and particles and stuff that like
streaming nightmare. Probably
YouTube video makes it look good.
Yeah.
It becomes just a just cluttered, artifacted mess.
Even worse on Twitch then. Huh?
Bad. But I've heard the PC port is not good.
Oh no.
I've heard that. I was talking to a buddy of mine because they watch a lot of streams, and they were like, yeah, one of the streamer I watched was streaming it on PC, and it was just like terribly broken. So then they got the PS5 version and started streaming that one instead.
damn, that's not good.
So that's the only thing I've heard about that. I have not done that firsthand, so I can't comment. That's just third-hand knowledge.
quote unquote triple I. That seems to be the trend, right? Like Callisto Protocol had a lot of the same problems. Where it's like, well, you got the PC version. Okay, let me get back over to console. Yeah.
And just like the last year or so, the PC ports, it's been a thing. It's been a thing.
Yeah, I'm nervous for Starfield because I'm going to be playing on PC.
Starfield. Yeah, Starfield. I'm not as worried about that. You know, I mean, of course, the Bethesda jank, but like, they have that experience. Plus, they have that community that's just gonna like the inventory thing we talked about. There will be a mod in 3 days to fix the inventory.
Yeah, but I don't want to have to use a mod.
I know, but that's the Bethesda way.
I know.
I really like the environments in this game, especially the interiors. They're very cozy.
Sweet.
Reminds me of my old Huber Hype episode about just cozy little spots. When I was playing this game, I was like, get ready for a hype on this shit. Because I just like, there were times when I would just like sit there and be all cozy and I'd like it. Obviously, there's like janky NPCs that are just like sweeping lifelessly.
Yeah, of course.
You know, of course, like whatever, but like
it happens.
I liked the environments. Also, huge control issue in this game. One big fatal flaw. Thankfully, I always have enough mana. It's everywhere. It doesn't matter. But to pop a mana crystal, it's hold square. Also, hold square is like interact with shit. No. So I'm going up to interact with something, and it's like pop a mana crystal. I'm like, I didn't want to use that. It's happened 100 times. I'm not even 100.
Yeah, that's a problem.
100 times.
That's a problem.
Because like, even you'll want to interact with something in the environment, like to open a door or something, and like I'll go right up to it, and it won't trigger the square button yet. I'll be like, dude, like, so I'm like kind of like moving around to like get it to like, okay, there's the square. Now I can push it. So that was a big flaw of it.
Sounds like it's got some rough edges, but you're enjoying it. You're having a good time.
New IP, like,
nice,
dude, the combat is really fun. Like, I think it's undeniably fun. You know, I think if anyone gets their hands on it and just starts blasting away with the gauntlet powers, like, it's cool.
Yeah, totally.
It's really cool.
And it might go on sale pretty soon, probably, or sometime. So keep an eye out for it, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, our final game, Sea of Stars, Bloodworth. You've been playing this. I talked to you a little about this already. The video's already out, but you've played more now.
Yeah. I'm not super far into it.
Here we go again, Goaty Watch.
But it's been really good. There's a lot of things, having like, it's interesting because like you have that first conversation, and then when you go back into the game, like there's other then other stuff starts popping out at you. But if you're not familiar yet with this game, this is kind of in a style of like a classic Super NES JRPG. There's a lot of influences you can pick up on there, from Chrono Trigger to Breath of Fire to Golden Sun, and Paper Mario stuff in there as well with the interactive moves in combat. And it all feels really solid, and it feels, Huber, one of the things I told him was like, it just feels refreshing to get into like just like a top-down 2D RPG in the midst of all these big like open world 3D games with like building outposts and everything. It's like a million systems just thrown at you in the moment. Yeah. But at the same time, it's got the depth there, right? Like the combat feels good. The combat feels like it's pushing me. Like characters are going down. And like, oh crap, like I gotta watch out, And one of the things that I didn't get in that video that I remembered afterwards, talking to Brad, is the death mechanic is really interesting in this, because you don't just like pop a phoenix down or something. So when one of your characters goes down, they're like the little like Tweety Bird stars over their head, and so for however many stars there are, that's how many turns you've got to like keep the party alive before they revive, and then they'll revive with half health.
So it's more of like they're knocked out, not dead.
Exactly.
Got it.
Right.
Okay, interesting.
But then you get into those like panic moments where it's like, oh, I've got 2 guys down. I've just got to like stay alive right now through the rest of the
changing your strats to like turtling. Turtle strat to like.
Hell yeah.
Is there an item though you can use on them?
Not yet.
Okay.
There may be some move or some ability that somebody gets later on, that can revive somebody. But right now, it's just like, okay, you've just got to survive for now.
Got it.
And I had one situation recently where, like I had somebody went down, the other people were really low, But then I had my combo meter up good enough to where I could use the combo between Zale, he's the sun guy. So there's like a sun guy, moon girl, and then their buddy, the cook, Garl, who we know Huber is going to love. We know Huber is going to love Garl.
This can be on the list for goaties for sure.
Yeah, best companion there.
Garl,
Although he's,
Gav, everyone with the genie. Yeah, look at that.
Gav,
but basically, the combo between Zale and Garl, so Zale can shoot these fireballs, and Garl uses his pot lid as his weapon. And so basically, if you shoot the pot lid, then it like breaks up the fireball and like hits everything on screen.
That's fucking sick.
Yeah. So I had that combo pulled off, took out like 4 or 5 guys with that, and then it's like, okay, now we can survive until Valerie wakes up. So yeah, lots of cool little bits like that. There's a system there to, I described this before, but just to kind of say, so like when enemies are casting spells, these, what they call locks appear above their head. So they could be like 2 to 4, probably even higher with bigger bosses. Different symbols pop up, and those relate to slashing attacks, blunt attacks, sun attacks, or moon attacks. And so you have to like hit each one of those locks, and then if you hit all of them, then you'll break that spellcasting sequence.
Cool.
And they won't be able to pull off that move.
There's like a parry thing like that in Immortals of Aveum, I forgot to say. You like have this device, and when they flash, you can like blast them, and they're like, blah! It's really cool.
Yeah, but you can see also a number, so you can see how many turns you have to break all of those locks, and so you can tell based on like what your party members have got going on and like how much MP you have is like, okay, am I going to be able to do that with the amount of time that I have, or do I need to just like focus on one of the simpler ones that this guy is going to like summon some ads or whatever. So there's a lot of little strategies and stuff to play there. Also, like anytime that you attack an enemy, like you regain MP. So there's always that back and forth to where it's like things don't take a lot of MP to cast, but you always need to like keep in mind that like, okay, I might need MP to pull off a moon spell or whatever. And so just kind of like figuring out where the balance is through all of this stuff. The art style is fantastic. Like I think it's one of the things where it's like a lot of people talking about being like the kind of the dream version of one of these games, because I think in modern times it's like, even though it's sort of like gets that aesthetic of a 16-bit game or whatever, there is a lot here that they're able to do that you just would, like the limitations would stop you from doing. And like one of those things is just like the lighting and the effects that they pull off, like a lot of long shadows and stuff coming out from light sources like campfires and all of that. When you go over water, like you can see like the reflections in the water and that kind of thing when you're walking through those kinds of areas. When you go behind like a crystal or a waterfall, there'll be like this crazy like distorted effect of your sprites. And then just the number, like even though I'm just a few hours in, just the number of unique characters that you come across who aren't just like, Sprite 45 again.
Is there voice acting or no?
No voice acting.
Okay.
No voice acting in this. So that is one of the downsides for sure. But the music has been really great.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because last time I talked to you, you said it was like pretty good.
Yeah.
It's been picking up more.
Yeah, it's been picking up more. I think like particularly like some of those battle themes and the boss fight themes have been really good. And I think it partly too, it's just like the areas that I've been in.
Yeah.
Like this waterfall area is like more serene. But it all has been pretty nice. And then the level design, I really am digging.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of kind of like verticality in terms of like layers and stuff, and so it's like and what's nice is they give you the tools to work with that. So you can clamber up ledges or drop off of ledges and stuff like that. So if you like see something down below, it might take you some time to figure out how to get to that chest or whatever, but it doesn't feel like a lot of busy work because you are able to scramble up to these higher areas fairly easily. And I think they've figured out the movement speed, which I think like a lot of times in older RPGs or whatever, it feels like your characters are moving kind of slow and you want to sprint or whatever. Whereas like, in this, it just feels like you're pretty nimble moving through spaces. But there's like a lot of side paths to figure out, like what the waterfall area. It's like, okay, you jump off a waterfall, but then there'd be a geyser to get you up to some place that's not quite where you were. It's sort of in between. So if you explore around here, you'll find like another recipe, or you'll find like another like dual tech or whatever, or even like just like a standard weapon. And so like, yeah, a lot of those rewards like feel worth it. And even in the town, like I got to this port town with the pirates where you meet the pirates, and there's lots of little back alleys and things like that, you know, where it's like if you find your way up to this place and you walk around behind the building and then you go in, it's like, oh, there's a treasure chest there. Damiani, this has got to be a Link's Awakening nod. Oh. Conch shells. You're collecting conch shells.
So secret shells.
I don't know why yet. I haven't found the person that takes the conch shells, but there's the little rainbow conch shells all over the place.
How's the economy?
Yeah, or that, or like economy, but also like towns. I know in the demo you had like a town, but some of it was closed off.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Have you come across like a proper village or town yet? And like
that's what I'm saying, the port town, but it's also in like a mole town, like a miner's town before this.
Like like how are the shops? Like are there any like kind of like side quest system in this? Like or no? Is it pretty straightforward?
They haven't been like go do a thing out here, but there have been little things to where it's like the miners town, the mole town in particular. You know, one of the things that had happened was there was this guy that had gone in and had so like there were these caves where the wind is blowing through the caves. These ancient mole people had made this system for the wind to blow through the caves, because then the cave system acted like a natural instrument. Oh. And it put this giant dragon to sleep. So the sound of the wind going through these caves is keeping this dragon asleep, and you like see him on the overworld map. It's freaking huge. And then this guy is kind of blocked up the caves, and so like one of your first missions is to go and like clear the caves out again so the dragon doesn't wake up. And there's a really cool story, and I don't want to like spoil like where the conclusion goes with this character. But anyways, while you're exploring the system, you get your first kind of like elemental power where you can like make these wind gusts.
Okay.
I guess it's not your first really, since you have your moon and sun stuff. But anyways, you can like solve puzzles with these wind gusts where like you can blow blocks around, and like you do these kind of like block puzzles where you have to like shift things on paths and get them into the right places and stuff. Or you can like blow wind gusts to like make these little windmills activate and open up things. And so, like I said, like I wouldn't necessarily consider it a side quest, but like when you get to the town before that dungeon, there are these guys like, oh yeah, because of whoever's antics, then like the water stopped running. And so once you get the bracelet, you can go into like a cave behind where the water comes out, and there's a dude that's like sleeping in there. And there's one of those little windmill things. And so now you can like open up the windmill thing, and you get the water running, and then the guy gives you probably one of those conch shells or something like that as a reward. So
that sounds cool. Yeah, so the puzzle's been holding up, because I know the demo versions like had some of those like dungeon environments with those puzzles with like the one with the crystals.
Yeah. So I just got to that dungeon in the full game. Yeah.
But the wind part like sounded like it was like pretty good puzzles, or
yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like you see you can see these blocks and stuff ahead of time, and you're not sure what to do with them. And then, once you get the bracelet, then it's like, okay, it's like I remember that part earlier in the level, let me go over there. And then sure enough, like, there's like a sequence where you drop things like from one room down to another and get like a chest or something in there that's optional.
Multi-room puzzles, always good. Any kind of mini games you come across so far?
Yes. I think Huber's going to be into this.
Why are there so many video games?
So, in the tavern, Garl's dream is to like see a tavern, right? Because you grew up in this like little isolated town, and then you get to the port town. You're trying to get a ship. You meet the pirates, and they're like, "Come meet us in the tavern." And he's like, "There's a tavern," And so he runs off without you to go to the tavern and go talk to the cook and learn cooking stuff. But it's called The Humble Boast.
Nice.
And so, like, literally, you go in there and you talk to people, and they're all telling these tall tales about themselves.
That's fun.
But after you accept the quest from the pirates, they give you this little wheel and then, like, 2 figurines. And there's this mini game called Wheels. And it's, like, this kind of clockwork board game. And so you've got, like, 2 figurines on your side, and then your opponent has 2 figurines on their side, and there's like a crown in the middle that you're trying to damage.
Condor.
And then
that's what I'm thinking, Damiani.
Yeah. And so there's like basically like a slot machine kind of thing.
Dude,
so you pull the slot machine.
Stop.
and there'll be like orange symbols that apply to your character on the left, and then blue symbols that apply to your character on the right. And then there'll be these hammers that will create a wall to defend your crown. And so when you pull, then you'll have, you have like 5 different wheels. Then you can like lock in the wheels, and then you pull again. And so you're trying to match up for whatever one of those things that you want. And and then if there's like a blue background on one of those colors, that'll give XP to your figurine. So then
you level up your figurines. There's a meta to it, or like
within the match.
Oh, within the match.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, not like long term, but within
like
the match.
Dota style.
Yeah, and so basically you're just trying to take down the other side's crown.
Is it always 2 on 2?
Yours.
2 figures to 2
Yeah,
figures.
because there's just 2 slots.
Can you get different?
Yes. So when you go up to the guy, there's a casual match, and then there's a champions match. And if you beat him in the champions match, then so you start with a mage and a knight.
Yeah.
When you beat that first guy, you then get an archer.
Oh.
So so each one has
For Condor, dude.
Yeah, each one has their different things. So the knight will just like attack head on ground level, but then the archer can go over certain heights of walls. And then the mage, they shoot out 2 fireballs. So they'll shoot one that's ground level, and then the one that'll go right over the wall.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's a great little mini game.
All in.
Yeah.
Damn. Sounds sick. Add it to the Goaty list, I guess. God.
Stop.
Anything else, Bloodworth?
I don't know, because since we had the other video and stuff. But yeah, it's just been a good time. Like I said, it's been great feeling to explore the world. The characters that you come across have been really good. The music and art have been really good, and like I said, the combat feels challenging. There are, similar to Final Fantasy 16, there are relics. You start out with a couple, and then you can buy others at the shop. And so those can be like assists things to where like with the timing ones, it's like, you'll have a chance of just like automatically getting the defensive, timing block, or reduce how much you have to do the offensive timing, or simply just making things easier, or like making it so that like you refill health after every battle, stuff like that. But I came across a secret merchant that also sells relics that make it harder, that make it so that you take more damage in combat.
Do you get more XP if you equip that?
I don't know.
I love
Probably
that.
not,
I
but
always equip that shit.
But
make it harder, give me more XP.
Yeah.
It's like Tales games.
So yeah, good stuff.
All right.
Sick.
It is time for some emails. If you would like to send an email to this show, or the Easy Allies podcast, or reaction shots, or Fast and Loose. Fast and Loose is only $1, I think. But join $5 and up.
Fast and Loose is $5.
Everything's $5 up.
Yeah.
Join us on patreon.com for just $5. Get early access to this show, Easy Allies podcast, other good stuff. We'd appreciate it. All right. First question is from the champ. What's up with 2023? There are so many good games out or coming out soon, not to mention the major updates to existing games. Looking at you, Guilty Gear. Now, I already have MK1, Like a Dragon, and Spider-Man pre-ordered. I also have PlayStation Plus Premium. If each ally had to pick only 2 games to purchase between now and December, what would be your recommendation? Excluding the games I already have pre-ordered, and you can choose the same games. Besides, I'm torn between Baldur's Gate 3, Lies of P, Armored Core, Mario, Alan Wake, and who knows what else I'm forgetting. I play anything besides sports games and service games with multiple battle passes / seasons in a year. I'm so close to pulling the trigger on Armored Core, but time isn't on my side.
Definitely Alan Wake 2, dude.
Between
That is
now and
going
the
to be
end of the
special.
Yeah.
I haven't played it.
Only 2.
I haven't played it, but I am so confident in Alan Wake 2 being one of the best games of the year. Remedy doesn't miss.
Yeah. As I said, like Spider-Man 2 and Super Mario Wonder. Like,
Spider-Man 2 is a lock.
Like feel like locks, but the two other ones, if those were excluded and could sneak in other locks, would probably be like Super Mario RPG. Mm-hmm. Because if you haven't played that, please try and play it. It's coming out at the end of all this madness, so maybe you'll have some time.
It's a great game.
And Starshin.
2.
Second Departure R. Like,
Right.
Yes. Ready. Second. What is it called again? Second something R. Because first Departure, it's second story, second evolution R. I can't remember.
I think it's just the second story R.
Second story. Yes, that's hopefully. Yeah, can't wait to play that because they put so much work into it, and it's generally regarded as the best one in this series. So I think they did a pretty good job with first Departure R. So
Spider-Man is going to be really good
Spider-Man's
without
insane.
question. It's going to be a very good game. I'm actually really curious about Starfield.
Yeah.
I hope I like it. I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine, but like, I'm more curious about that. I am also, Hubert, confident in Alan Wake 2. I feel very confident about that game for some reason. And I think the fact that they just made it...
Optimizing the fog.
Yeah, and I
gonna
think
be
the
incredible.
fact that they just made survival horror more now is like, you're speaking to us. Yes,
yeah.
we like survival horror here, so yeah. But Super Mario Wonder, though, too, dude. That
Yeah. Like
just
the
feels
last-
like delightful.
The last Remedy game, Control, was a fucking goatee.
Yeah.
A lot of places.
Control is
it
good.
was.
So
It
Fantastic,
was.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from this point, since I've already, since Baldur's Gate 3 is already out, that doesn't count, even though I haven't gotten to it. So,
Yeah.
and I'm already playing Starfield, so I'd say Cocoon
Oh, yeah.
and Super Mario Brothers Wonder probably.
Cool.
Yeah,
I
would be
totally
the two
get
that
it.
make the cut.
it is impossible to go wrong with Mario. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Guaranteed fun and delight
Yeah.
for everybody.
Yeah, that game looks crazy.
Yeah. All right. This is from Craigie B. Is this the longest generation transition? Hi, allies. I have been a patron since day one, but this is my first time writing in. I've been thinking about the transition over a new gen and how we are almost 3 years into the current life cycle, and yet still almost all games that get released are still cross-gen. So I have 3 questions. 1, why do you think this is? Is it strictly down to COVID or the chip shortages making it hard for a lot of people to make the jump? Or is it maybe because of the massive success of last-gen developers being too scared to miss out on a huge install base? Let's answer that first question, though. What do we think about that?
I've seen a lot of, like at the Gamescom, a lot of that stuff just said, PS5, not PS4.
It's starting to go away
It's starting
now.
to go
Yeah,
away.
but
Then you have like Jedi Survivor coming out on, they had the
On
current
last
gen
gen,
and they're
yeah.
doing last gen now.
Yeah, they did that with Harry Potter. It came out way late.
Yeah, I mean,
Harry Potter
I
2.
think, all of that stuff I think is definitely a factor. But I think the biggest difference it is just we have gotten to a point now where the architecture is more similar than it's ever been between generations. Like if you think about like the Super Nintendo versus the PlayStation, like this is just wildly different machines, right? Like it doesn't make sense for the generation to be a cross-gen. If you look at like the PS2 to the PS3, it's like you're moving to HD. It hugely different things.
Especially on PlayStation, you go into cell processor.
And then
all
when you
that.
look at even the last gen, it's like the PS3 was this weird Frankenstein's monster
Yep.
versus the PS4. So it's like now it's like this is the first generation towards like, well, the PS4 and the PS5 are kind of architecturally the same thing in a lot of ways, just better and with newer features and stuff. But like in terms of like making the games and programming and like making that cross-gen isn't as difficult as it was before, especially now with like how a lot of workflows are already like, well, we got to figure out like, can we do a Switch version and PC version? Like multi-platform development has just gotten like it's just been accounted for a lot more.
Yeah. Billions of dollars are on the table, Bloodworth.
Yeah.
Will Grand Theft Auto 6 also be on PS4?
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say by the time it comes out, no. I don't think it will be.
Yeah, I think they're too ambitious for that, honestly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Their second question. Do you think this is holding back the new gen as we so rarely get to see the true power of PS5/Xbox Series X because games have to be able to run on older hardware, although we have had some notable exceptions with Horizon Forbidden West DLC being a PS5 exclusive, and also the recent situation with Baldur's Gate 3 not coming to Xbox. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is just the install base is so huge.
Yeah.
And Blood, you were saying, like, kind of easier for them probably to port stuff down right now than it has been in the past. So, like, I mean, look at God of War Ragnarok. It's like, probably sold a lot on PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
A lot, dude.
Yeah.
So I understand. I wish it didn't go on this long. As someone who has a PS5, I definitely wish it was.
The selfishness of me.
Yeah,
I want
exactly.
the current. Yeah.
But this is
If I'm
unprecedented
gonna buy
times.
in, expensive games, like let me get the most of it.
And in terms of holding stuff back, I think it does to an extent always, no matter what. Like when you have to like keep in like older hardware in mind always when you're making something, because like I think the more like exclusive things will be more technically impressive often. Thinking like Ratchet and Clank on PS5.
Yeah.
How crazy that game is.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man on PS5 is going to be pretty insane too. So yeah, I do think it can hold it back. Sure. And 3, is this the longest transition we've had? We're 3 years into still the norm to have both last and new gen versions of almost every title. I would. Where's my mouse? Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Keep up the great work. Love and respect, Craigie B from the UK. I would say this is probably one of the longest transitions we've had in gaming. Like, I can't recall, like, I know, like, NES games came out still and stuff like that, and games still come out when newer hardware comes out. But
Yeah, PS2 stuff, they're still coming out forever. But again, the difference is just that, cross-platform.
Maybe the Wii, a rare exception with, like, Just Dance or something like that came out forever. Yeah. But in general, yes, it definitely feels like the longest.
Yeah.
All right. From Matt Hastings. Hey, allies. I was in the Navy from 2004 to 2010. One of my favorite game franchises during this time was Guitar Hero. Mm-hmm. It was the perfect offline game to go play during a 6-month deployment. I still remember the feeling of finally beating Raining Blood by Slayer on the hardest difficulty. Now, for my question. How long until Activision cashes in on nostalgia and re-releases a Guitar Hero collection? I don't even care what my wife says. I'm getting another plastic guitar. Bonus question. Is there something you're nostalgic for from more recent gaming history that you'd like to see come back? Thanks for being rad. Thanks, Matt.
It's time, right?
Activision cash. I feel like they tried to re-cash.
When was the revival?
It was Band Hero? Was that it?
Well, that was during the midst of all that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Guitar Hero Live.
Yeah, that was it.
That's right. Trying to get some subscription shit, dude.
Yeah. That's a good question, though, about like a collection. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I guess.
I think. I think that. Our like the weird modern Twitch era just makes the whole proposition so much harder because it's like.
Yeah.
It does feel like
great point.
A lot of the stuff, the tastes and stuff are kind of dictated by what people are streaming in a lot of ways, and you just can't.
Mm-hmm. How does Just Dance do it?
You just can't.
How's Just Dance?
Do you have people streaming?
They have people who compete and stuff. I don't know if they're the biggest streamers, but every time there's like a Ubisoft press event, they talk about like here are influencers who are playing it, and they have like video content.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
True.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe they're not real, or maybe it's part of the marketing thing. But I think it's got to be a little bit. You're right, though. I think it's a difficulty. So it's something that. Be for you play on your own time, but that kind of like kills some of like the hype potential behind. Hey, everyone's sharing it. Like, where do we share it now? On Twitch. It's like, oh, you can't really get the new Guitar Hero on on Twitch because you're gonna get nuked from orbit with all those songs on there. Also, yeah, getting those collections, would they be able to get every song back? I mean, like the cost,
you couldn't put out
That
a port
sucks.
of those games.
I loved the 80s one. That was so fun.
Yeah, the 80s one was sick.
Yeah, there's some like deals where like the owner doesn't want that music on there again, like so it'd be like prohibited. Like that's seems like it'd just always be best to go forward and just make like a new one with newer songs, like newer licenses, and like maybe a few classic tracks and just do that way. I don't know. For me, like I wasn't as high on the Guitar Hero and Rock Band stuff, but feels like a classic collection seems like not the way to go for that, in my opinion.
Well, and I do think like you're saying with Just Dance, like I think that the stuff is still going on, like in the behind the scenes communities that we just, the people that aren't into that stuff just aren't that aware of. Like I think like Rock Band on some level is still functioning, like still have access to songs online.
Yeah, same like with all the Beat Mania, DDR, like all that stuff still like has their all, yeah.
Blood, you brought up Just Dance. I remember your review of game trailers. I just remember it ending with saying "Just Dance just sucks" or something.
That was some weird invisible walls bed or something we had to do.
Oh my God,
man, that was funny.
Oh, that was It was like an episode.
It was like a
100.
video thing. Yeah, I remember it. I guess with Guitar Hero, just real quick, I feel like people just don't want a plastic guitar as much anymore.
Exact same thing, Brad.
It's not as much of a novelty that people are into right now. Maybe in like 10 years or something, I could see people like coming around because everything comes back.
Yeah, like right now, like the equivalent is Beat Saber.
Yeah, exactly.
Like everyone's
doing VR
doing
stuff like
Beat
that.
Saber
it's
tracks.
Also kind of. Do you guys agree or disagree? I feel like when Guitar Hero came out, it was like harder to listen to that music. Like obviously we had like Napster and like streaming still, but like now Spotify and everything is so prolific. Like you can just listen to any song, anytime, anywhere, anything you want. Whereas like Guitar Hero like felt kind of special because it was like, oh, these songs, like, oh, let's play these. Like now it's just like you hear that shit like everywhere all the time.
Yeah, we weren't in that place yet. I feel like bootleg uploads to YouTube, or like most people were getting that stuff if you weren't paying legitimately. So yeah, for sure.
All right, this is from Philip Skies. Hey, allies, I recently completed Resident Evil 4 Remake. Of course, I absolutely loved it and played through it multiple times to get all the achievements. However, I feel that everything I love about RE4 Remake was also present in the original game. RE4 is officially one of the greats, so I shouldn't be too surprised that the remake couldn't drastically improve the experience for me. But I still feel as a little disappointed that RE4 Remake is essentially the same game as the original, except with better graphics and limited knife durability, as opposed to an almost completely new game inspired by the originals. The originals like RE2 and RE3 Remake were. How do you all like your remakes? Do you like them to stick to the hard originals, or do you go wild and do their own thing? Love and respect, Phil. PS Code Veronica Remake when?
Oh. Code Veronica remake. Funny, for first time in like 10 days, logged into 14 last night just to like check something. So it was a reset week.
Yeah.
And someone in the shout chat was like, "Dude, love your name. When's the Code Veronica remake?" And I looked there, someone's name was Code Veronica.
Sick,
so I thought of you. I was like, dude, like, is that a Hubert playing
amazing.
right now? I was like, what?
That's amazing.
I was logged in just to see that. I was like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah. I like both types of remakes.
Yeah.
I think of like Demon Souls, like how crazy that was, because it fucking felt so sick. It was great. It was the weirdest, and that's the weirdest game I've ever played, the remake of that. Because it was like
similar.
It was like, this is the exact same thing, but like 10 times better, but it's also the exact same thing, but it's not. It was so bizarre, like weird. So I like when it's like one for one, but then I also like Remake 2 is like one of my favorites of all time because it's like the spirit of the game is like identical, but it still felt pretty different.
I think 2 is one that I'm very, very mixed on because I feel, and 3 is sort of the same thing, right? Where it's like, okay, this is a remake. It kind of has a lot of the same vibes, but it's leaving stuff on the table, and so it still feels like in some ways your original game has, more in a way. There's stuff that they didn't bring across.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I like when something like Demon Souls is like, okay, this feels, or Dead Space, right? Like it feels like I'm playing the same game again.
Yeah.
But it's all
Great one,
fresh
Dead
and
Space.
shiny, and
Man,
Totally. Dead Space added like just enough new shit, took stuff from the sequels and put it in like retroactively. It's like, oh, now we can, now like floating around is way better. It's
Metroid
not like
Prime
leaping.
Remastered, I had to look at side by side to like see, like, oh,
that's sick.
it's like this is actually way better, but it just feels like I'm playing the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like RE4, included much more to try and have as much content as the original, but like. I feel like the playthrough experience, like, obviously there's familiar stuff. They remade some parts 1-to-1, but like not only on that element, they even like played with your expectations. Do you remember like the whole sniper first sequence where you could get the sniper rifle, where you're going in reverse this time, to like completely different sections, to changing up the gameplay where like yes, there's still like melee moves, but like it's not executed the same way. You can't just shoot the kneecap. Like biggest thing, you were like laughing when I tried that. You're like, you can't do that. You can't do that. And even knife durability, you can't, even if you want, you can just sit there and just knife people. It's like it changed it enough that it's like this is not the same to me.
Yeah, it was like a remix almost.
Yeah,
totally.
so it was like it was like
I like it more than the original.
Yeah, it was like it's like 40%, like 30 to 40% of it is like the like original areas are like preserved somehow. 30 to 40% of it is like remix of it, and like 20% of it is like outright new stuff. It was like that wasn't even in the first game. What is this? Like that's kind of cool.
And I think 4 probably had a lot more stuff you're familiar with because it's Resident Evil 4, and people like love that game, and like if they change stuff too much, people will get pissed off probably.
Sure, yeah, that's true. They can't go too far, but like a good example is just like the lake. Adding all that extra stuff in the lake,
it was
like,
great.
Making it like it's like a hub environment. That's not what it was. It was so linear before. Now it's like you can travel different spots and they will connect back around. And I'm like, whoa, this is like. Like
optional treasure hunt area.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Like
I was like,
cool.
I was like, this is pretty cool. Like they definitely improved a lot of parts of this game by adding a new content built around the familiar parts.
Even the boss fight in the burning barn, and you like jump down. Mendez, dude, jumping down with the knife, like that was sick.
Yeah, no more of my dumb kite him around, hit him a few times, go up, because it's like it's only one spot, and it's like you can go up, but like he comes up, and it's like it's very open, and then like the second part of it with him swinging around, like it's so different because the original version, the second part was kind of like just a nuisance. It's like it's the same thing. He's just swinging around, and now it's like he's tossing barrels. He gets up closer. There's like a melee thing where you gotta like dodge him and stuff. I was like, this is they and especially Salazar, like just completely redoing that fight. So it's not a torso boss anymore.
In terms of preference, I don't have a preference on remakes, like what I want them to be. I think they all could be good, just how they approach it. Like Demon Souls is very similar to the original game, but like movement is way different and stuff like that. But it's like great. Dead Space, great example of something that's very familiar, but there's some new stuff in there too.
Shout out to the Flame enchant haptics on Demon Souls.
Oh yeah,
just like the
sword up.
Oh man, the controller felt so cool. You can feel it, just like so cool.
First party.
Yeah, it was
first party stuff. Now looking. That's gonna do it. That's it. We are complete. Another episode in the can. Good work, everybody.
10 more games you need to play.
10 more games you need to play. We're gonna be drowning in games as always. We will do our best. But we will see you all next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.